All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's been 726 days since we last casted Siege in South Asia, and now a new beginning has arrived. Welcome to Fragnation Presents Rainbow Six Siege X Community Cup Season 1 in partnership with Ubisoft. I'm your caster for today, Bob Gusta, alongside with me, my partner in crime, Blackjack, as we are here back again in the Siege X desk. And it's going to be an amazing one to look at. So, Jack, yes, like I said, it's been a really long year since we've casted Rainbow Six Siege, and also a lot of familiar faces that we will be able to see in these matchups. The first important question is, buddy, how are you doing, man?
Oh, I am doing amazing, Babagu. So thank you for asking, and thank you for all of our viewers for joining us once again for this fantastic Fragnation Rainbow Six Siege Community Cup. It is going to be a fantastic evening here in South Asia, indeed, as both Baba and I are ready to bring you the first semifinal of this Community Cup. That's right, we are not wasting any time with group stages or the like. We're going right in to the first semifinal of this entire tournament. And it's a good one indeed. There's some names that you might recognize that will be featured on tonight's matchup. So, with all that said, it is, of course, Fragnation. It is Rainbow Six Siege X for those who might have missed the last couple weeks of the game being out. So, just to catch everybody up, Siege X is out, and it is very, very fun indeed. Baba, actually tell us, as we continue further into tonight's show flow, how your experience has been with Siege X. And our viewers in chat also, be sure to let us know.
Yeah, absolutely. Before we talk about the entire matchups, I do have to, talk about the entire event format of the CGX Community Cup. It's a single eliminations 5v5 simple game mode, a classic core loop of Siege X. And the most important part is that it's not just one season here, Jack. It's more than 4 seasons in total. And let's not forget about the prize pool itself here, Jack. The total prize pool of it is 50,000 INR in a Community Cup. That itself clearly shows that, especially in South Asia, a lot of new things is going to happen here for Siege fans out here.
Absolutely. Ubisoft is expanding its focus on the South Asian side of things because guess what, folks? Your voices, our voices, they've all been heard. And they are now paying attention to us here in this part of the world. So Rainbow Six Siege is going to only expand in the future as we go through more community cups and more big events coming down the pipeline. So make sure to stay tuned. And of course, follow Fragnation on all of their socials at Fragnation, on Twitter, Instagram, all the usual places. And of course, make sure to join the Discord, discord.gg/Fragnation. With that said, let us have a little look, a little gander, shall we say, at the match that we'll be having tonight very, very shortly indeed, as we've talked about all of the other stuff that is around it. And here it is, folks. On your screens right now, you can see Community Cup Semifinal 1. It is Team UwU versus Team OPK coming to your screens live tonight. And a great match indeed, because the rosters that are in play tonight are certainly ones that I think people will recognize as we start naming them off. So from the side of Team OPK, it is Ninja Freak, Expansion Tetra, It's Rush, Nex, and Ions. And from the side of Team UwU, it's Dizzy, Drish, Dagger, Jittery, and Beat. These names, folks, they've been around for a very long time, and they are back once again to give us some fantastic Rainbow Six Siege X.
Absolutely, Jack. I am really excited for this. I mean, let's not forget, it's been years since we've seen at least a lot of competition, especially that's happening in South Asia. And I'm really excited to see these teams come back and give it a shot, especially in the Community Cup. Let's not forget, we have a total of 4 seasons here, right? So this is the first season, and this is the first semifinals of our Community Cup from Fragnation. Once again, huge shout out for for Ubisoft for for the partnership, helping us deliver exceptional gaming experience and supporting the growth of R6X player base in India and of course in South Asia. And talk about this tournament, it is available on certain regions. Your players from India, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, Nepal, Bhutan, and Maldives can register for the Community Cup. So if you want to register for the next season for CGS Community Cup, make sure to head on in towards the Discord channel make sure to head on into the Discord channel, discord.gg/Flagnations for a lot of information regarding with these competition, and also there's a lot of exclusive content, giveaways, and tournaments. I mean, in fact, there's a lot of tournaments going on right here, Jack. Followed up with a 1v1 siege showdown that's been made from none other than Bullet the Crazy Gamer, and of course we have a dual siege showdown that's going to happen
Mm-hmm.
with a massive prize pool of 1,800 R6 credits. So, if you are a Siege fan right now, if you want to win a lot of rewards with R6 credits, what are you guys waiting for? Go ahead and register. And of course, like, head into the Discord channels, follow the socials for Fragnations. I have to say that the new era is going to be an amazing one here, especially in South Asia, Jack.
Absolutely, because guess what? It is built around the theme of collaborative effort and around community. And that is exactly what we are here to exemplify tonight, folks. Me and Baba, it's been a hot minute since we've gotten to cast a match of Rainbow Six Siege, or Siege
Mhm.
X, as it is now so affectionately named, for South Asia. And boy, howdy, I am excited to get right back into it. With all that said, of course, it is a best of three. Zooming back into this particular matchup that we have tonight, and the maps for the night are also, well, kind of to be expected, but with the decider map being something that I think we all would like to see, or not, depending on if you like that map or not. I certainly don't, but hey, competitively, it might be a completely different beast. Uh, of course, Team OPK and Team UwU, they're going to be fighting it out for the grand final spot. It is a single elimination. There's no, ladder
Mhm.
situation or anything like that. It is simply going to be a straightforward shot to the grand finals. And both of them, well, they're going to be giving us their all, right? That is to be expected. These players, they've got legacy, they've got history when it comes to Rainbow Six Siege in South Asia, and they're going to be showing us exactly all of that and more. Their years of experience at this point at play. But, kind of zooming back out of the match tonight is all about, of course, community. This entire thing with Fragnation that we're having, the dual showdown, the 1v1s, and of course the meme showcases, all of that is all about community, all about you guys. So make sure to join the Discord. Once again, discord.gg/Fragnation. And of course, remember to follow us on our socials at Fragnation on Twitter and Instagram. I know they call Twitter X now, but I refuse to call that Twitter, X. So it is what it is. You're just going to have to fight my conscience about it. With all that said, folks, let's have a look in just a short moment, of course, at the maps that will be on play tonight. And then we'll be going straight into the game. And boy, howdy, it is going to be a game to remember. So, with that said, Baba, you know the names. I know the names. We all know the names of the players that are in the lobby. What can you give us in terms of expectations? Not predictions. I know you have a rocky history with those, but expectations for what we might see from these players tonight.
Well, I don't know how to answer this, but I do have to say one thing. It's really nostalgic, Jack. Like, that I can say for sure. I mean, looking at these teams coming back after a long year hiatus, knowing that we didn't get to see a lot of siege action happening for the past few years, and now with the introduction of siege X coming in and back again in South Asia, seeing these teams back again, and the changes that's been happening on sieges, there's a lot of changes that has happened on siegex. I mean, we call it sieges for a reason, and a lot of a lot of old tactics might end up a little bit reworked, especially with the new ban changes. So I would say that I'm hoping for OT, Jack. Like, just straight up, the first match itself, all three matches, all of them will be OT. I'm just not going to say who's going to win, because if I do, that will be a spoiler. And of course, you can actually add it in the
I
meme
mean,
as well.
yeah.
Just a simple screenshot and say me trying my level best not to give spoilers in the first match, especially in the intro.
Yeah, no, we don't want that script to be showing, that is
Yeah,
for sure.
yeah, yes. We definitely don't want
But
to. We don't want to do that. Yes, absolutely not.
yeah, exactly. But yeah, no, that's pretty much a lot of what you can come to expect, dear viewer at home, from this particular matchup, this particular Community Cup. Of course, to those who know and have been playing, the Community Cup has been going on for longer than just the streams that we'll be having. But of course, as it is, it's a big community, lots of teams, lots of players, and lots of chaos managing all of that. Trust me, I would know. And so, we opted just to stream the semis and the finals. But hey, we're here. and we are ready to get started in just a quick moment while everything gets put into place, gets ready. And don't you worry, we'll be starting very, very soon, folks. I know that this is South Asia. There's a little bit of the typical South Asian siege happening in the background, as is to be expected, but it's a familiar ground, and certainly for me, it's been a very long time. For both of us, it's been a long time coming back to this familiar ground of Siege. Oh, now Siege X here in South Asia. Of course, a lot of things have happened. If you followed our individual socials over the years, we've gone our own paths, kind of fallen back into line as well. And it's nice to be back after everything that has happened in this last over nearly 2 years now that we have had a Rainbow Six Siege cast for South Asia together. I've had the chance to step back into commentary myself, and I'm having a lot of fun. I think that's the best way to describe it, and that is the best way to look at it, right? If you're coming back after a really long time, and you just got to make sure you're having fun, realistically speaking. And that is exactly what's happening here tonight, and in any other areas that you might see us pop up over the course of the next, I don't know, months, years. Well, only time knows how long we'll be at it for.
I do have to point out one thing, is that Jack is in US right now, right? And he just woke up just to make sure that we would cast together for a match of CJX. It's like, I know that we both are, obviously working on some other stuff, but Siege will always be in our hearts, no matter what. And of course, I have learned a lot back when I used to cast Siege all the way back till 2019. And, coming back to 2025, sure, I do have a lot of love-hate relationship with the game Siege, but no matter what happens, we always come back. And I'm really excited, and I'm really glad to be casting alongside with Jack once again. So, yeah. Well, we just have to wait for the map vetoes once again, and of course talk about the major changes that's been happening on CJX. And maybe if we still have the time, maybe we could reminisce the past, talk about the entire storyline that had happened in the entire history of South Asia, because boy, oh boy, was there a lot of heated moments that had happened between these massive teams. But yeah, I believe we just got the confirmation from our broadcaster side, which means we are heading towards the map veto right away between Team UwU versus Team KumKum. And looks like when it comes to the ban-wise, Lair, Bank, Chalet, and Nighthaven Labs goes bye-bye. Border and Clubhouse will be the two maps which will be picked. And of course, the decider, which will be our ye old Consulate.
Well, I guess you could say this is a borderline standard map pick, wouldn't you say, Baba? As we have ourselves a couple of very expected maps. Border and Clubhouse are staples of South Asian Siege, if I do remember correctly. Of course, Oregon used to be, the number one played map alongside Clubhouse, but that is no longer the case since Oregon is not in the map pool at the moment. We've got, of course, the Consulate rework being picked as decider map, and I think that's just a case of both teams banning each other's best maps or whatever they think is like, hey, we don't want to go here against this team. Let's ban it, and then you just go ban. You pick two maps and then ban two more. Guess what? Consulate is the decider. Bob's your uncle, right? So, all things considered, not a bad selection of maps. It's actually really good, and I certainly am very excited to see how these two teams are going to play should we go to Consulate. Of course, it's a best of three, folks, so map number 3 is always going to be up in the air. Whether or not we are actually going to be able to see map 3 come out is anyone's guess. Whether we have overtime, whether we have map overtime, again, entirely depends on how.
Oh no.
Over and over again, things can certainly be very close when it comes to Rainbow Six Siege. Oh dear. Am I? Okay.
Yeah, you're back. Yeah. Welcome back, Jack. Of course, for a brief 2 to 3 seconds, you did get to see the still image of the legendary Blackjack himself. But not to worry, he is back here once again. But yeah, talking about the matches itself, map video-wise, all 3 maps, really excited to see what's going to happen. Although, I do have to, pay some respects for our old map, Oregon, because we won't be able to see it anytime soon. Because Oregon was, very much used in every single matches we see. And it felt like every single map was like one single mistake was more than enough to determine the victory or defeat from the other end. But ladies and gentlemen, we are not going to waste any time at all. Let us commence the first matchup between Team UwU versus Team Operation KumKum. Starting off with the ban phase itself, let's not forget, first round and second round will be, I mean, the first round itself will be 2-ban phase, and then the next 2 rounds will be the big phase. So when it comes to the first ban, Clash and Blackbeard will both be banned because this Siege X is currently a shield meta, so shields will be removed right off the bat.
Now, this is what I really like about CHX's ban phase, folks, as Mira and Blitz are going to be your second set of bans. Pretty industry standard when it comes to what we see in competitive R6, when you don't exactly have particular operators to ban against your enemy, you know, any targeted ban, so to speak. This is what you go for, right? Clash, Blackbeard, Mira, or Azami, depending on if you want to ban Azami or not, and of course the Blitz. But this is what I like about the ban phase now in CGX, in that before round 1 you get to ban 2 attackers and 2 defenders, right? Then before round 4 you get to ban a 3rd attacker and a 3rd defender. So 6 operators in total get banned per phase, and then on the second half, so after round 6, it is the same case. So round 7, before you start, 2 operators from each side. Then round 10, before you start round 10, 1 more operator gets banned. Now you might be wondering, how does overtime work then? It actually works based on phases. So for instance, say we go to overtime and Team UwU is attack on overtime round 1, then the first phase of bans will be in play for OT round 1, and OT round 2 will take from the second phase, then so on and so forth. I really like this system because it keeps the game dynamic. It keeps the bans fresh. It keeps us on our toes because you never know, as the match progresses, the amount of bans and the type of bans might change over the course of the rounds. Speaking of the rounds, round number 1, of course, has begun, and looking at the lineups, this is pretty standard to start off. You've got your Goya, you've got your Kaid, you've got your Mute and Bandit, so double electrification, a ton of denial from the side of Team OPK, and the Legion, of course, is just slow operators down. Now the question is, how extended are these defenders playing? Quite a bit, as it turns out. You've only got 2 operators in the site itself, 1 in Armory, 1 in Archives, and it looks like we've got a couple of players out by Control Room, maybe by Waiting Room, and 1 kind of playing a lurk role in between. Seeing the Twitch, not really too surprised there. Deimos as well. Iana coming out, and there we go. That's going to be a Glory Cast popped by the touchdown, which then gets shot down for its trouble. So lots of stuff happening, and there we go. Dagger gets the first one, and unfortunately Ion's got a little bit too uppity around that window. Decided to peek, got taken out for his trouble. Ooh, expansion Tetra been down, but next comes in with a save, takes the trade on Dagger.
Yep, a respawn in the back, and with it both the man count is equalized, but looks like there's a lot of aggressive attempts being made all the way towards the fountain side, and you can clearly see that a lot of pressure is happening from the side of Team KumKum. So Pete, on the other hand, playing as the ace, will find one once again. Huge spray attempts from the Legion, a double kill from Nex, doesn't get the other. Immediate refrags being made from none other than Jittery himself. The man has been making waves after waves, and right now we can clearly see that he is still in form. A minute and 10 seconds left, and looks like from the side of Team UwU, they're the ones who have the advantage. Double kill from Jittery, and once again a lot of gunfights being made around from the side of Bandit. But in the end, it will be none other than Team UwU start things off by winning their first round of attack in border.
A lot of back and forth happening there between both teams as they were fighting for dominance in that moment, and already we have a timeout happening from the side of Team OPK. They will take just a moment to kind of reflect on what they saw in round 1, what was done against them, and what they could do better. It's certainly a very early moment to be taking a timeout, but you never know, it might just be exactly what they need. All things considered, it was a very close round. It came down to the 2v1 at the very end there. And a lot of stuff ended up happening, right? A lot of peaks, a lot of aggressive plays. And that is, of course, to be expected when you have these players, Jittery, Beat, Dagger, Dizzy, Drish, and players like these are generally known for their overall aggressive play styles, but what they're also known for is switching it up when they really need to. And that's something I'm certainly looking forward to. But hey, let's not put any kind of slack on the side of Team OPK, because Ion's next, Rux, Expansion Tetra, and Ninja Freak, they've shown us time and time again that they are more than up to the challenge. Question is, now that round 1 has been taken, what is going to be the game plan going forward? I believe we see a Dokkaebi potentially in play from Dizzy, yes, at least for now, until maybe they get 6 picked out. But from the side of the defense, we have a couple of switches. We've got the Aruni coming in from Ninja Freak. That's a good idea to burn utility and delay the attacker's entry. Maybe even get a little bit of cheeky damage in if they don't have anything to deny the Aruni gates with. And of course, the Azami, very, 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 prolific in pro play, as it were, because those Kiba barriers, even with the chains that you can shoot them down, it takes so many bullets to take out one Kiba barrier that it still might as well be bulletproof 90% of the time. So Azami portable barriers, just one of the best ways to get around in terms of like denying sight lines, denying area, and controlling area as well. Site reconstruction is one of Azami's big strengths, as you can see here on the east stairs, wall ready, facing the door. You got to be careful behind, and of course, knowing Expansion Tetra, they're going to be careful on both sides, but looks like on second floor armory, once again, it's going to be a case of taking control of this window, taking control of east door potentially, and then trying to get control on east stairs itself.
Now, since there will be a lot of attempts on gaining control on the neighboring sites, I would say for Team UwU this will be a much more interesting challenge. Now with DZ bringing in the Flores as RC, it would look good, but my god, Dagger. Oh, the shots are so supreme. I always remember him make those shots. It's like always pixel peak angles. But here comes Nex again, this time taking out DZ in the picture. But look at this. Aggressive attempts from Dish. He's all the way deep towards the side and they have no idea about it. Plants are happening. And right now there's a lot of aggressive attempts coming towards the side of Armory. Downs will be made. A little bit of BMs being made. And now it's post-plant once again. Operation KumKum. What is going to happen from their end? Because right now Team UwU, just by having control on archives, Team UwU will once again dominate the second round as well here, Jack.
Alright, so round number 2, and this time I do have to say Team UwU, with the fantastic performance of entering into archives with a really good bit of droning right there, because guess what? They saw, and we saw this as well, but they most importantly figured out that, wait a minute, Team OPK, they've got a really extended hold out towards east, out towards control room. Let's just take archives. We don't have to worry about the roam. We don't have to worry about anything else. They are not protecting the plant. We can just get in there. And that's exactly what they did. They got in, they got the plant off, and guess what? Once again, mum's the word, because Team OPK were unable to retake the site. The attackers just had too good of a hold. They would not give it up, and unfortunately for the defenders, they all ended up falling by the wayside. Not the best round 2, admittedly, for Team OPK, and certainly their mental might reflect that going into the third round, but they have opted to switch up the site. Going to first floor bathroom and tellers, of course, this is arguably the second most popular site in the current version of Border, and looks like we do have a Mozzie and a Mute coming out to play. So Intel Denial is now the name of the game from the side of Team OPK, and unfortunately, right as we saw, I think it was Dizzy's drone or someone else's drone who was playing coy with the Mozzie pest earlier, unfortunately will get caught out. So that's one piece of intel for that Mozzie to take, and along with the Valkyrie, that's going to allow for a lot of area to be covered by anyone watching the cameras. But mind you, it will always be a case of how much can you execute based on that intel. That is the question that is on everyone's mind. That's the question that's on our minds right now as the breach goes out on the customer's wall.
Yeah. And now since the Mute Mozzie combo is present, the information from the attackers will be a difficult one, but not to worry. Once again, Thresh with the aggressive force. A lot of wall sprays commits towards the other side. Won't be able to find its mark, but Dagger will definitely will be able to down one. But a confirmation will be made from Jittery nonetheless. Ion goes down for the count. Montaigne once again will be able to provide a lot of information in which the pressure will be made towards the other side. 2 kills from the marksman, one from Jittery and the other from Dagger. And you can clearly see that the attempts for aggressiveness is apparently making a lot of problems towards KumKum's side. The adaptations are working well, but when it comes to the aggressiveness attempts, it's not quite working out, but looks like a really good comeback is coming in from their end. Look at that. Denials are present. The downs will be made. It will be Drish to make sure to equalize it to a 2v2. Now it's a 2v1. All up to Nex to make this play happen into a 2v1. C4 will be tossed, but Drish arrives just to peek at the right time, gets the kill. and make sure that round number 3 will also be at the hands of Team UwU. I do have to say, Jack, from the side of Team KumKum, they have made a really good job, because especially when it comes to picking the operators. Because round number 2, they realized that since no one was in archives, a lot of expansion was made all the way towards fountains, and since attackers repick is still a thing, they can still make a decision while still being in prep phase. So the more information you give to the attackers, the quicker bit
Set of
difficult for the attackers.
very chaotic set of confrontations that have been happening over the course of the last few rounds right about now, and we've had the final bans for the first half also take place. It is Valkyrie and Twitch who've been taken off the board. You know what, it makes sense that Valkyrie is gone on border. She is really hard to counter with all of those little spots and covers and overhangs and undersights that you can put those cameras on. And for the Twitch, well, Twitch has proven to be a fairly prickly thorn in the side of Team OPK. So I'm not surprised that they are the Twitch, that is banned in this regard. Though I do have to say, kind of looking back now, since we have a little bit of a pause going on due to a disconnection, folks, looking back on round number 3, I think both teams had moments where they just kind of dropped the ball, if I have to say, Baba, right? For instance, looking back at the very early bits of the round, I still really like the aggressive play happening from Team UwU, yes. However, the criticism there is that while they got the breach, the soft breach going into the site of Tellers, they unfortunately failed to account for the fact that there might be roamers sitting on the east balcony, right? And because they forgot that, their Monty got downed and the plant pretty much got denied, and they had to play for picks instead. Now, of course, Team UwU, having the kind of players that they do, got the picks eventually, and it was once again a close round as a result of that. But that little lack of oversight, they need to be careful of. If they do not nip that in the bud very soon, then they will find themselves on the receiving end of some very unfortunate round losses, and that's something that they need to avoid. For the side of Team OPK, unfortunately, I don't have too much to say right now, because so far they have been very roam heavy, and they have, unfortunately, that has netted Team UwU a bunch of moments where they've just managed to press the advantage, right? Looking in round 2, for instance, no one was around in archives after Ions went down. No one was watching that particular part of the map, and the attackers got an easy plant in. Same with round number 3. We almost saw Team UwU get a very easy plant in going into Tellers, because one, that wall, I mean, you don't have to reinforce that wall, that's fine. However, most of the players were up on second floor, and while yes, they were able to deny the plant thanks to the intel that they had, think for just a moment that maybe in place of Flores, if they had an IQ and those Valkyrie cameras were shot down, you would not know that the plant was happening or where it was happening, and boom, suddenly it's a repeat of round 2. So to that end, I want to see Team OPK kind of tighten up their ranks, tighten up their overall movement and playstyle, because I do like what they've got going on, this intel heavy playstyle that they're going for, but they need to execute on it with a lot more efficiency and a lot more quickness if they want to deny Team UwU any more round wins. Because mind you, folks, they are 0-3 down. We're already halfway through the first phase, and they are 0-3 down.
Yep. 0-3 down. And I do have to give credit where credit is due for Team KumKum, because especially when it comes to round number 2, especially the way how we did get to see Team UwU adapt to the situation, they had, like you said, they had a lot of information. Realizing that they were roamers, they decided to go in with a simple archives plan, which usually happens on a site where archives and armories are present. So on round number 3, you did get to see that the changes of the operators were present from Team KumKum. You had the boat museum, okay, all right, Musi, for some reason why, Mute and Mozzie combo, where having to delay or deny a lot of information for the attackers was really crucial. And because of it, for the attackers on the side of Team UwU, they were forced to make those important gunfights. But when it comes to handling aggression, that's where most of the problems would come in, because you are committing 2 intel denying operators, both the Mute and the Mozzie, which means that the only denial that you can rely on are just your C4s, which means that you need at least some information, maybe a Valkyrie scam or a default cam, to provide them with some important information on players' whereabouts, so that it would make it easier for those C4 toss to nail at least a kill or two from their end. Now, granted, especially when on round number three, it was pretty much chaotic, because you can clearly see that Team UwU are just going all in on pressure and aggression, and because of those two, it will make much more difficult from the side of team, or from the side of Team KumKum, to actually hold their ground, because right now they need to figure out a way to get some denial type operators, right? Maybe they could bring in a smoke gas canister would at least help in denying a little bit of push, maybe a lesion or an anti-roam, in which they actually had one or two anti-roams roaming around the second floor site. But once you had the pressure being present, you need to make sure that you contest it, because if the attackers gain control on the nearby places, it'll make it much more difficult for the defenders to even head in towards the site, right? So this game is always about control and information. The more control that the attackers have, the higher the chances that the attackers will be able to execute the site flawlessly in less amount of seconds. And the goal for the defenders is just making sure that they would waste a lot of time for the attackers, so that they could have enough breathing room to hold their ground. And that's the beauty of Siege, right? Anything can happen. And especially with the huge changes on ban phases, you cannot use the same operators every single 2 rounds. It will be changes. Like, of course, in the previous time, it was just 2 attacker bans and 2 defenders bans. That was pretty much it. And when it comes to the ban phase itself, it felt a little bit predictable to see what kind of ban phase and defenders bans were, right? But right now, on round number 4, you can actually have a ban phase, where looking at round number 1 and round number 2, you'll maybe realize that, wait a minute, Azami is actually really strong on second floor. How about we just ban Azami instead and focus more on intel gathering? Or let's just say that if mutant Mozzie combo is present, you can just immediately ban Mozzie and just focus on having Twitch, so that it would make it easier to just cancel out the drones. So there's a lot of opportunities, there's a lot of strategies, and let's just say a lot of opportunities for the other operators to shine on a game like Rainbow Six Siege, and that's what makes Siege X interesting.
Yeah, that is the thing, right? That's one of the reasons why I highlight the new ban phase so much, because it definitely deserves it. It has made the game feel a lot more fresh with the way that it completely changes up how you approach bans, right? It changes how you have a look at them, how you decide to, what operators do we ban? What do we take off the board? Especially with that round 3 ban that we love to see so much, the round 4 ban, excuse me, because in this case, let's have a look at what we got in round 4. I believe it was the Valkyrie and the Twitch. Now, in normal circumstances, in the old ban phase that we used to have pre-Siege X, you wouldn't probably see a Twitch be banned on border at all, because one,
Nope.
normally you don't have that many bans to go over. It's only 2 attackers, 2 defenders, right? Now it's 3. More attackers to ban means more variety. But more importantly, the reason Twitch got banned isn't because she's a particularly powerful op in the current meta of the game. It is simply because Twitch was a nuisance in rounds 1, 2, and 3. A lot of utility that the side of Team OPK wanted to use got denied by those Twitch drones. So guess what? Twitch gets banned and will probably be in the ban consideration going forward in this best of 3, so long as Team UwU tries to play that operator. Same with the Valkyrie ban, or the Azami ban, which I'm surprised that we haven't seen. But again, that's because of the new ban system that we don't see the Azami get banned, right? Because guess what? Azami, despite how effective she can be, I feel like Team UwU has not faced too much pushback from the Azami in this regard. And what that ends up doing is they don't need to ban her. They've managed to play around her instead. And that shows in who they've decided to ban instead. So it's always a case of dynamic flow, dynamic thinking that is rewarded by getting these specific bans based on the current data that you have in front of you. So CJX, great changes all around. And of course, the Clash getting banned is a little unfortunate, because unfortunately I haven't had the time or the chance to cast Clash in a competitive setting too much just yet. She is powerful though, especially now with the ability to put down her shield and electrify opponents remotely, which gives her a lot of dynamic play options as compared to before, right? A defending shield was never exactly very popular, especially with the playstyle of Clash, but the little quality of life changes plus the buffs to her with this rework have made her very, very popular indeed. And that also means she's going to get banned a lot, folks. So get prepared to almost never see Clash, similar to how you would almost never see current Blackbeard, because again, we've run into the age-old problem of Blackbeard is too strong. I can't wait for 5 years down the line when we're all talking about how Blackbeard is too weak once again. It's gonna happen. Let's be real here. But just taking that moment to reflect on what we've had in the last 10 years of Rainbow Six, it's certainly been a roller coaster, ups and downs and topsy-turvy all over the place. But for now, we're simply just waiting for more confirmation about the game, just as you are, folks. Don't you worry. We know. Casters started the game already. Some things never change. Old habits die hard. But yeah, no, 3-0 up. Team UwU looking strong at the moment, and they have shown us a very good, performance on border so far. Looking at my notes, it is actually their map pick as well. So it's to be expected that they perform really well here, even though Border is a very popular map in the current map pool of Rainbow Six. You know what I am surprised with, though? The fact that Consulate snuck in somehow as the last pick or the decider. Because guess what? If Lair was picked somehow, I would have been similarly surprised. I personally don't like those maps, folks. Anybody who's played Ranked will probably tell you the same thing. But me personally, I would probably take Nighthaven Labs over those two. And honestly, Nighthaven Labs flows pretty well from a competitive standpoint, even though as a casual player, you might not like it too much. It's just one of those cases where, hey, you're playing a map. Do you like it? Do you not? Do you learn it? Do you not? Right? Ultimately, that is the same. Remember, folks, back in year 7, year 8, we all had words for Oregon when it got played for the 15th time straight in a day. So it's always changing. It's always moving.
Yeah.
It is always more than meets the eye. That's a Transformers code.
Yep.
But yeah, no. We are of course just waiting, as it were, as you guys are. And with that said, folks, while we get everything set in stone, set back into place, we're going to take a very short break. Don't go anywhere.
All right, folks, we are back once again, and hopefully, with the first matchup being in play, we'll definitely head in towards the match right away. So, yeah, talk about the side of Team UwU and on the side of Team KumKum. Team UwU have secured 3 attack rounds back to back on map border, and they are looking to complete the rest of the attack, which will happen right about now. So, without any further ado, folks, let us jump into the match right now and resume round number 4.
Well, it ain't a game in Siege South Asia if we don't have a little bit of a technical pause in the middle of a very, very good match, isn't it, folks? It is definitely fun to be back. But with all that said, we're jumping right into round number 4. It looks like the site of choice is once again going to be on the second floor. No surprises there, all things considered, especially with the kind of bands and the operators that we are going to see. And just a reminder for those who might be joining us after the break, it is Twitch and Valkyrie who were the final 2 operators banned for this first half. Now, the first half, of course, that means that when round 6 happens, when we go into round number 7 and the swap happens, attackers become defenders and defenders become attackers, the bans will be reset, and there will once again be a fresh new set of 3 attackers and 3 defenders who will get banned over the course of the next rounds and onwards. Looking at the defenders, we've got one change on the second floor lineup or Team OPK, excuse me, just having a moment right there with my brain. But Team OPK bringing out a Fenrir this time around. Ions opting to swap out of the interesting. But we do have a line, we do have an Ash, and it looks like we're going to have an aggressive entry potentially into the side of Archives. Yes, it is. That's one down, but Easy goes down at the same time in the same breath. Unfortunate for the Ash that they were only able to get one, but that's a good pick as well, because guess what? It's next, the Legion of Thor. And now there goes Expansion Tetra, because Beat has joined the fray from the other side of the map.
Jammer.
Yep, that's 2 at the price of 1, and right now it's just only 3 defenders left holding the side of second floor armory and archives. Jammers will be used to make sure to at least disable some of the utilities, but a lot of risks will be made to ensure that the second floor archives will be well defended. But I have to say, for Ninja Freak, he has to be careful on both the angles. The Summer Breachers will be present, a little bit of information that could be gained from the Iana's Gemini, from the Iana drone. Right now, he needs comfortation. He needs to ensure that the entire fountain is cleared, and a beautiful decision at that to take out Thresh.
What a beautiful headshot right there to take down Thresh. The Iana jumping in and didn't have the intel on where the mute's position was. Ninja Freak, well played in that regard. Ace comes around, breaching into the wall of office, but shots are fired, and that's probably from somewhere below these stairs or maybe around the balcony. Beat's gonna have to be careful about this as they approach 92 players are down below, maybe rotating towards the front side, towards the metal stairs. Yes, indeed. Here's the Ions coming in. MP7 in hand, might be able to get one, maybe. Does see the head, does see what the breach is, but no. Jittery catches Ninja Freak on the cross, and there's the return fire. Ions decides, hey, I can get down, and gets a very good pick at that, and Beat caught trying to enter. Dagger takes down Rocks on the other side. It's a case of trades, and Dagger on the prone, managing to just start seeing, getting their vision back after shooting that Fenrir mine. Gets the Fenrir as well. Team UwU, by the skin of their teeth, folks, are able to secure 4 rounds now, even after the lengthy break that we had. Going into round 5, they are 4-0 up, and now, given that round 6 is where the swap happens, after round 6, that is, as we go into the instant replay, or actually, back to us, hello.
Yep. That's the instant camera replay.
Just having a moment, there we go. Yeah, the instant replay was us. But,
yes,
just looking at it, folks, it was certainly a really good situation to be in for the side of Team UwU. And for right now, given that they are 4-0 up, it is very good for them. Because guess what? They have now ensured that even if they lose the next 2 rounds, they will be 4-2 up going into the second half. Of course, losing 2 rounds means losing a lot of momentum, and you don't want to do that. You want to avoid that at all costs. But for now, zooming back into this round, this is where Team OPK really needs to show us that their mental game is still as strong as it can be, because this what? If they do not pick themselves back up in this moment, they are going to lose more rounds. They need to be a little bit more consistent, a little bit tighter around their teamwork, as otherwise Team UwU is just going to keep picking them off.
I would say for Team UwU, they still have 2 rounds left. So I would say for KumKum, they have to ensure they'll get some defensive maneuvers as best as possible. Interesting usage of utilities. One Dreadnought, the mine that's present from the outside, and of course a bulletproof cam to give them information from the outsides of the hallways. Meanwhile, still Vigil, since Vigil is present, I'm hoping that he might have a Boss G, which is really powerful in mid-range, though an instant down, which makes it much more powerful. But no, it's just a K1A submachine gun followed up with an SMG-12, which is still an optimal solution for winning those important gunfights. All in all, Team UwU this time, they're playing it safe. No aggressive attempts as of now. Looks like we might be able to see that aggressiveness come in once again. And let's not forget, this is the 3rd time we are seeing Team KumKum hold the side of 2nd floor armory and armory lockers and archives. And turns out this time they might have an advantage here, Jack.
I will say that I don't like this decision from Team OPK for going on to 2nd floor Armory Archives for, what is it now, the 4th time in this matchup? Because Armory Archives has just not worked out for them, but this time it seems like it will be the case. Drish going on an entry that we saw in Archives, a very ill-advised entry, Jittery going down, and now Dizzy as well. This Vigil is doing pretty much the Lord's work for this team, as Dagger manages to get one expansion stretcher goes down, Ion goes down as well. Wait a minute, a sudden collapse from the defensive team. Defensive lineup completely falling by the wayside. What happened in Archives? 2 players went down back to back, leaving one in Armory alone, while the Vigil on the other side lost the gunfight on East Balcony, and just complete shatter from the side of Team OP KumKum, because they, again, I'm not sure what. All right, so just taking a step back, because that took me by surprise. 3 defender bodies dropping so suddenly, especially Dagger. A lone Lion in Archives, I mean, in any other world, probably wouldn't have been able to get away with that play. But guess what?
Attackers need to locate
and so did the rest of the team. I will say, Vigil losing the gunfight on East Balcony is fine. For as much criticism as that one might attract, that Vigil being that aggressive on the eastern side of the map was actually what put Team UwU on the map, on the path to win round number 5. It was the collapse inside the site that ended up losing the round. And, credit where credit is due, Dagger played that brilliantly, even though we didn't get to see too much of it, played that brilliantly to bring his team the round win. So, all things considered, Team UwU getting up to 5-0. Player domination knows no bounds, it seems, as they are completely shutting down Team OP KumKum from any kind of map advantage or round advantage or so on and so forth, no matter how much Team OPK manages to get into the mid-round.
This time we'll see a Brava being used, which is a really powerful operator, though. Instead of destroying utilities, you'll be able to catch them. And would you look at that? That is such, good drone works. I mean, at this point, Jittery is now the Tokyo Drift of Rainbow Six Siege. What is going on? Look at that skills. It's just I'm looking at drifting skills in a Siege game, Jack. Can you believe that?
Yeah, I know, right? Parkour.
Yeah, parkour, and that too in a drone. But yeah, all in all, this actually helps in disabling one of the most important cap can traps. So basically, Jittery just converted a cap can into a cap can't.
There it is. There's the signature of just the punish right there. And I do like that you said that, because Bravo is an extremely powerful operator, but guess what? There's one that's just been taken off the board. Expansion Tetra to go down, and that is your Melusi. Banshees, of course, are already on the floor, but wait a minute, Dizzy has got the down and the kill on one, or actually has gotten down, I should say. Next, taking a very important pick right about now, is the Ashes aggressive playstyle has been one of the big things that has put OPK into a bit of a bad spot. But meanwhile, Ion's going down. That's not going to help either. The Kaid off the board. The site, I should mention, we failed to say it, is of course on the 1st floor. And there goes next the Legion, who was the linchpin of the top floor. now no longer active. Minute 20 on the clock, and it's already a 2v4. With the cap cannon and mute remaining, Team OPK, well, they have their work cut out for them.
Yeah. A lot of work, though. I have to say that when it comes to the adaptations, Expansion did a really good job when he was playing as the Vigil, but right now it's a 2v4 situation. Once again, vertical lines of sight will be shown up thanks to those breach charges from Beat, and now here comes the pressure coming in from the defenders. Ninja Freak, I hope that he still has a C4 in his hand, which would definitely help or break a situation. The C4 would at least help in denying the plant. But would it be more than enough? 40 seconds left, and for Team UwU, I believe they will be making their play as of now. E1D will be used, so is planning the diffuser from Beat. We see a C4 denial from the Ninja Freak. No, instant denial because Dagger is here for the save. And now it's a 1v4. All up to Rux, and he will be eliminated by none other than Jittery. 6-0. What a way to start things off from the side of Team UwU, 6-0, as we proceed to the second half. A match point is in, and from the side of Team KumKum, I would say that, they still have a chance, right? This is semifinals, which means that we still have 3 more maps to go. I mean, we still have 1 more map to go, right?
I mean, yeah, we still at the very least have map number 2 to go, folks, but given how map number 1 is looking and the absolute domination on play from Team UwU, I'm not sure how far into map 2 we'll get, but of course we'll save that for when we get to map 2. Right now we're still in map 1. It is a 6-0, but it is round number 7. So what does that mean for CJX? Well, the sides have swapped. Team UwU, who were attacking for the first 6 rounds, are now going to be defending, and Team OP KumKum are on the attacking side of this equation. We've got a couple of bans, and already you can see the difference between the first ban in round number 1 and the second set of bans in round number 7. Blackbeard and Ace are the attackers banned. Of course, Blackbeard to be expected. Meanwhile, Azami is the one banned from the defending side. So Team UwU decided, Team OP KumKum decided they don't want to play against the defending Azami. They're like, you know what? We're not doing this. We are not dealing with that particular operator. And now Mira has also gotten banned as we move into round 7. With all of that said, we do have a little bit of an unfortunate disconnect, I do believe, from Team UwU. And maybe a timeout will be requested. Maybe something more will happen. We'll just have to wait on the admins to figure that one out. But yeah, no, the bans, a little bit more targeted than before, a little bit more specific to the map that we have seen so far. However, of course, it remains to be seen how effective these bans are going to be.
I would say that for the attackers, the choo-choo train will be delayed under further notice. Just because Blackbeard is banned doesn't mean that you still have other shield operators to begin with. I mean, you still have the Blitz, you still have the Fuse, so shields can be a bit powerful for the attackers.
Baba, yeah. I like how you said you rattled off shield operator names and you just didn't mention Monty.
Yes, I've mentioned all of the shield operators except the mountain of operators. That's the mountain, yeah. I don't know what happened. Maybe I was just trying to aim in on the joke, but yeah, I forgot about the mountains of mountain. But yeah, I have to say,
forgot to address the mountain in the room.
Oh yes. Poor mountain. No, like no hard feelings, the mountain. I still like you. I just don't play shield operators a lot. I'm more of a Kali main, but yeah. Speaking as of now, the Twitch drone will be able to try to use the gas pipes, which is considered to be as the neutral utility, which we use very quickly to ensure that the stairs would be theirs, and also a newest addition for CJX as we look into it.
Yes, sir. Those map elements that provide just a little bit more dynamic play between each team, as you can shoot fire extinguishers to create temporary smoke, and you can shoot gas pipes, red gas pipes, so to speak, to create areas of flame. But you know what's actually happening right now? Vertical utility. That's right. We've got a ram in play, and potentially hatch breach might be happening depending on... Actually, no, there is no breacher in play right now. So no hatch breach on the side of the attack either. So they're just going to have to play soft vertical, try to get these defenders in the site if possible. I do like the pick of the Frost happening from Beat as well. We've seen Beat play Frost quite a bit, if I remember correctly, from back when we used to commentate regularly for Siege in South Asia. But with all that said, how much inroad are these attackers going to be able to make, given that other than soft vertical, they don't have too much going for them. Even their drones are slowly being whittled away. I mean, they still have 4 active, but no, here's the smoke to go down. That's a huge kill too. As smoke, we all know in the late game, is so effective against these encroaching attackers. So that's a huge kill. Dizzy going down, not the best situation to be in, but guess what? You still have Jittery, Beaten, Dagger to worry about as we get to 40 seconds.
Yep. I have to say the performance from Expansion Tetra is all. Let's not count out Expansion Tetra and Nex yet, because these two are really good, especially on attackers. Expansion Tetra being really good on Buck, he'll be able to secure the important parts of all. But here comes that shot though from Jittery. He never ceases to amaze me. But look at the info though. The info's looking good. Just sprints through the neutral smoke, gets a double kill, and now it's a 2v2 equalizer. There is still a chance for the side of Team KumKum to come back, but it looks like they are running out of time. Only 10 seconds left. They have no other choice but to just sprint their way towards the side. They've already lost 2 players. Now they're just going to play according to time. Here comes the Dinner from first from Dagger, and with that, folks, Team UwU have secured every single round to start things off in the community tournament, folks. 7-0 up against Team KumKum. But still, it's not the end of it just yet, folks. We still have map number 2, where we could maybe see Team KumKum come back. But whether or not, for now, Team UwU, they'll be able to secure the first match.
7-0 to start us off, folks. That is huge from Team UwU. Even with the technical issues happening in that final round there, they still pulled it off. And I do have to say, Team OP KumKum, they had, unfortunately, moments where they just weren't quite showing up. I think it's a case of, the mental being completely broken down, because they were probably thinking, all right, map 1 is probably not going to work out. We're going to do what we can in this last round. In this round, maybe if we win, we go more rounds, but they were probably thinking ahead into map number 2, which, let us remind our viewers, is actually Clubhouse, and it will be Team OP KumKum's map pick. So there's more to come from this team, I'm sure of it. However, I will say, starting off on an OS7, that's not going to be very good for them, because ultimately, folks, you only can win with momentum. Siege X, more so than ever before, is a game where momentum matters a lot, especially by winning consecutive rounds. Given that Team UwU have just taken 7 rounds straight in what is undoubtedly a one-sided first map, well, they just have a lot of momentum going for them right now. And as it stands, Team OP KumKum have their work cut out for them in Clubhouse. But hey, there's this, of course, little moment to breathe before both maps, before we move into map 2, that is. So they can take this time to really think it out, to really discuss what went wrong, and to talk between themselves strategies for what they can expect on the map of Clubhouse. Baba, however, of course, I would like your 2 cents on what we saw in map number 1, though.
I mean, I have to say, from the side of Team KumKum, I could feel like, once again, it's been a long time since they've come back to Siege, right? And now, especially on a tournament, on a tournament environment, knowing that it's a single elims, it's a simple best of 3 on the semifinals, there is high likely chance that Team KumKum might end up, being eliminated. But I would say that yes, they've had a very rocky start, especially on the first map. And let's not forget, the opponents that they were dealing with were none other than Team X Monkey Hunters. So going up against team like Jittery, Beat, Dagger, they're like, they are very well-known players, especially in the Indian esports industry for Rainbow Six Siege. So going up against them is in itself a very difficult task. But talking about the other side, though, I still believe on skills, especially from Expansion Tetra, Ninja Freak, because they've also been in the Siege, Siege esports for quite some times. And since the first map didn't quite work out well, I'm pretty sure on a map like Clubhouse, where everything is, it's one of the most played maps in the history of Siege, right, Jack? So I would say on map Clubhouse, we could see a lot of competition that could end up. And I still believe that Team KumKum could come back and basically make a statement of their own. I do believe that it can happen. And I would say that it would not end up in a 7-0, but it will be a good match to look at.
I would certainly hope so as well, because, at the end of the day, we are commentators after all. Our job is to make the games as entertaining for the viewers at home as possible, but there's only so much we can do if it's a consecutive 7-0. Cast your minds back to, the early days of Pro League in South Asia, folks. Group stages were full of like 7-1, 7-2s, and 7-0s. And at the end of the day, even though we tried our hardest to make them sound as exciting as possible, it does end up feeling a little bit, a little bit stale after a certain point. Don't get me wrong, seeing an upset 7-0 is always exciting, especially in the case of a team like Team OP KumKum with names that they have, Ninja Freak and Ions and so on and so forth. I don't see how they would have lost 0-7 at least before we got into today's match. I couldn't see that happening. And here we are, map 1. They have taken an unfortunate beating. Will they be able to bring it back in map 2? Of course, it entirely depends on how they feel going into the second map. I know that, given the technical things that keep happening, it is Siege in South Asia after all. They will certainly be looking for the best mental that they can find going into Clubhouse. Of course, Clubhouse, we all know Clubhouse. You know Clubhouse, I know Clubhouse, my mom knows Clubhouse at this point, I'm pretty sure anyway. So we're going to have to see what kind of new strategies they might have, or what kind of old strategies they might have to give us. I think I broke Baba. To give
You
us
always
in
broke me at the most random times, Jack. You know that? Clubhouse.
uh, I mean, it gets played so much. What?
I mean, yes. I mean, of course, Clubhouse and Oregon. Of course, they're like the brothers of maps. It's like it's either Clubhouse or it's either Oregon. It's either Mira or it's either Ash. Like you just have to pick.
Pretty much, but it's always a case of how much can be done in a map that's been played so much. That's, I think, the point of intrigue right now for Clubhouse. And Clubhouse, currently doesn't have the reputation of being played 15 times in a day. So there is also that. There's the good thing about the current map pool of CGX is that there's variety in there. Yeah, we all hate Lair, and I personally hate New Consulate, but hate is a strong word, and who knows, eventually I might love to like it, or sorry,
Mhm.
grow to like it, not love to like it. What does that even mean? But yeah, no, eventually we all might grow to like them, much like how Nighthaven Labs ended up becoming a map that's actually pretty well liked in the competitive circuit. At least
Mhm.
I say that, having now gotten the chance to commentate that map a couple of times in recent memory. So, all things considered, would we like to see Nighthaven Labs in the map bans for the next couple of days? Absolutely. I would not be opposed to the idea. But whether or not we see them is anybody's guess. Whether or not we see a map 3 tonight, New Consulate that is also anybody's guess, folks, as we await for confirmation of map number 2, Clubhouse, to come out anytime soon. And as setting up a lobby in CGX, it is one of those things where we have a long moments. We have to wait. Everybody has to get into the lobby. We got to take our moments, our breathers, and then we got to go in to a new set of bands. And given the bands have been reworked, I actually like them more now than I used to before, because they don't take away too much from the rounds, right? It is a better system all in all. And yeah, and of course, for those wondering and those who might have been here since the beginning, as Baba mentioned, yes, it is. I am actually casting from the United States of America, mostly because of educational reasons that I moved out here. But you never know. The main reason I would bring that up is because of any delay in terms of my audio, because latency. I am casting from halfway, or not halfway, across the world at the moment, folks. It is a fun experience, waking up at 7 a.m. to do this. It feels more like a job than a casting job, but I'll take it, because at the end of the day, I get to cast with Baba Gusta, I get to cast Siege in South Asia. That is all that I really need.
Yep. Not gonna lie, like truth be told, I really miss casting alongside with you, Jack. Like I have to say, like it's been so many years, since we casted Rainbow Six Siege together, and I still remember the last final match that we had. It was the SA Nationals, which is an amazing match to look at. But yeah, I mean, right now all it feels like you're playing a map of Nighthaven Labs, only to just head into the Animus and sleep and just revisit the good old moments. You just never know. Nighthaven Labs could be the newer meta of what's going to happen for Siege. I know I'm just trying to add a pun in the middle of it, but yeah, all in all, really excited. I'm glad to see, a lot of familiar faces coming in on Siege, especially from both the sides. I mean, seeing expansion Tetra, seeing Ninju, and of course from the side of Team UwU, Jittery, Beat, Dagger, DC. Those, I mean, these guys are like well-known players, especially in the Indian esports, and I'm really glad, that they're competing here once again in the Community Cup for CJAX. Really get to see them back, and I'm really excited to see the future of what CJAX holds for us. I mean, I'm really excited, and since, let's not forget, CJAX is now free to play, which means that players can actually get to play Siege X, both the core gameplay and also the 6v6. I've actually played the 6v6 game mode. It is really fun. Of course, there's like a huge, the only changes is that there's a respawn timer for it. And you can play both as the attackers as well as the defenders, which makes it easier for newcomers to join in and be like, all right, so this is what an attacker does. All right, this is what a defender does. All right, there's a secondary objective where I have to rescue Dokebi at the hands of Demos. Really great storytelling there. I really can't wait to see what's going to happen after Dokebi's save. Will we see a Harry 2.0? Maybe an android that comes in and says, I am the one that you're looking for? Maybe. I don't know. But all in all, story wise, just there's a lot to talk about, but more likely focus on the story base that's happening in the Community Cup right now, because I'm pretty sure we still have other teams as well. I'm hoping, maybe Hasib Warriors could be here. Maybe, I don't have the information yet. I mean, I still don't have the brackets, but if maybe we could see Hasib Warriors, then maybe I'm quite interested to see how well the match between Team UwU and Hasib Warriors could go out from, because the story dates back ages, Jack, all the way till 2020. Remember the days when they used to be called as Union Gaming, and remember we had a massive matchup up against Union Gaming versus Mercenaries, where Union Gaming had a chance to go in towards the majors, and I just realized my camera just froze. So,
Oh yeah. Wait a
like, yeah,
minute.
yeah. Why don't you continue for like 2 seconds while I try to fix the situation, right? Just
Oh dear me. We had one of those earlier today with me with my camera freezing at a very inopportune time, folks. And as we all enjoy this very beautiful still frame of Baba Gusta, let us make sure to follow Fragnation at all of our socials, at Fragnation on Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it, and Instagram, of course, to get more updates about the Community Cup, about the dual showdown, out the 1v1, or even the meme showcase. Make sure to join our Discord at discord.gg/fragnation. All the links will hopefully be in the description down below, or the link in the top right, wherever it all is, in content creator stuff. But yeah, no, all things considered, there's a lot happening for Siege in South Asia, and I definitely will love to see what SiegeX has to show for us in this region in the coming months. With all that, of course, said and taken care of, we're still just waiting in the wings for more news or confirmation from production about our next matchup, or I should say next map. Because again, just a refresher, because we have been talking for a really long time, for all of our viewers, it is 7-0 in map number 1 for the side of Team UwU, and they are now 1-0 up and into the map point. So yeah, all things considered, great stuff happening. And here we have a little leaderboard at the end of the very first map. All right, this is a nice screen to have here, because as you can see from Team UwU's side, the performance definitely was very, very good. Now, from the looks of things, it is a leaderboard taken after the rehost, but these stats are still really good to have, because you can see Dagger outperforming pretty much the entire lobby. 9-0-0. Well, no assists is fine, because you're pretty much being the DPS of the lobby in this regard. 5 to Jittery, 3 to Beat, and of course Dash and Dizzy playing more on the support role, getting intel, getting support stuff going, taking care of utility, and taking out utility for the side of for the side of the Team OPK. And from the side of Team OPK, well, unfortunately, their scorecards look not quite as good. They were on the receiving end of a lot of, unfortunate moments from the side of Team UwU. And, well, it is what it is for them. They will simply have to move on and try again later. Well, I say later. Hopefully, not too much later, as map number 2 will be very fun.
Yep. I mean, I would say for the side of Team KumKum, they're not out of the tournament just yet. This is best of 3 after all. So since Team UwU have secured map number 1, they still need to secure map number 2 in order to have a spot to the grand finals. And we just need to see who would, who would they go up against? Which team will head in towards the grand finals? Because pretty sure the grand finals will be a best of 5 nonetheless. So once we get to see the teams, being headed off. I would say, from the side of Team KumKum, sure, their first map didn't quite go out well, but I'm pretty sure that in the second map they will be able to show quite a lot, especially on a map like Clubhouse, and especially since with a lot of major changes and also inclusion of neutral utilities like the fire extinguishers, the gas pipes, which definitely helps change the pace of it. We'll only get to see it once we obviously head out towards the game. But before we do that, we have a lot of events that's currently present here from Fragnations itself. One of them is called Steal the Show. All you got to do is just submit best clips. Winner will receive a total of 1,200 R6 credits. All you have to do is just make sure to join in on the discord.com/Fragnation. Make sure to join in, and also each and every informations will be present right there itself. So submission channel is called as R6X-Steal the Show. All you have to do is to submit your best clips. It could be either an ace, it could be either a funny moment, or it could be the best clips that you have ever made. The second one, Dual Siege Showdown, a 2v2 face-off in team deathmatch. Winner of this matchup, winner of this entire tournament, will receive a total of 1,800 R6 credits. So Siege fans out there, if you're interested to compete for 2v2s, make sure to check on the Discord stream as well. And also, you have the R6 meme competition. All you got to do is just submit R6 as related memes. Winner will also get a total of 600 R6 credits. But for now, folks, we will be taking a short little break, and we'll be right back with map number 2. Until then, go grab some popcorn. All right, folks. Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead. So, yeah, go ahead, Jack. Right.
All right. Just had to take a moment to get ourselves back into the moment, folks, as we are back once again for the Fragnation Rainbow Six Siege X Community Cup in collaboration with Ubisoft, as we are back once again for this best of three that we have been enjoying. That is now in map number 2, folks, as we are going to be going into it very, very shortly. But don't you worry, as it is going to be a very exciting map 2. It is, of course, with Fragnation, as we are here in, in the Discord, in the community, as it were. Make sure to join the Discord, by the way, at discord.gg/Fragnation. And, of course, follow us on all our socials at Fragnation on Twitter, X, and Instagram. And, with all that said, guess what? It is a 1-0 map situation, folks, as Team UwU have taken a 7-0 in map number 1, and they are moving into map 2 with a very confident streak in their hair, a very confident breeze blowing behind them. Will they be able to continue that is the question. Baba Gusta, how do you feel about what we've got going on right now?
Well, the starting matches itself, Jack, I would say that Team UwU have managed to, finish things off on a 7-0 score line on map border, and looks like they're about to do the same thing here on map number 2, Clubhouse. But like I said, I would say that there could be a slight chance that from our other side we could, see that our team, Operation KumKum, could manage to make a comeback of their own on a map, Clubhouse, and I'm surely hoping that they would do it. I'm really rooting for them on the second map.
As am I, of course. All things considered, what we have seen from Team OP KumKum isn't exactly too bad. It's just a case of some really bad oversights that have lost them most of these rounds. Like, for instance, going back to round number 6 at the end of the first half in the first map, we saw, well, what should have been Team OP KumKum's round win, right? The Vigil playing around the east part of the map completely shut down any and all entry from the attacker side of Team UwU. Unfortunately, it just wasn't to be, because in the site, in the meanwhile, everything just collapsed by the wayside for the defenders. It simply was not a case of a well-held site, because they were not able, were not able to keep themselves afloat in a moment where they really should have been able to. For now, however, we will have to just wait and see as to how the next few rounds progress, the next few maps progress, the next map, that is, goes in. Because while Team OP KumKum's mental will probably be a little bit on the fragile side in this moment, what they need to do, given that we've had this moment to kind of reflect and relax between maps, just take a second, breathe, and let themselves play their best siege. Make sure to try and have fun while you're doing it, because if you're stressing too much about winning, ultimately you might not end up achieving the goal that you are looking forward to get. But with all that said, folks, of course, map number 2, which is Clubhouse, a ye olde favorite of South Asian Rainbow Six, or just competitive Rainbow Six in general. We'll have to see how Clubhouse pans out. Of course, speaking of Clubhouse, that brings me to one of the best features of Siege X, which is the modernized maps. The maps that have been given a visual overhaul and slight tweaks here and there, depending on where it has been necessary. Of course, Border is, I believe, one of those maps that has seen... Actually, no, I don't think... Yeah, no, Border is a modernized map. Yes. I had to take a second to just remember myself. But yeah, no. These modernized maps look great. The lighting in them, fantastic. The overall atmosphere and texturing of everything in them, amazing. And I think some of the walls got a little bit of rework in terms of how their soft destruction works, or at least very slightly under the hood technical stuff that we won't be able to properly portray in, our limited vocabularies here. But yeah, all things considered, modernized maps have been great, and I'm loving them in competitive play even more so. I love to see them come in more and more frequently in the future. But you know what is funny? Yeah, we did give Oregon a little bit of a hard time earlier before we cut to break, right? For how often it was played. What is funny to me is that Oregon is still one of Siege's maps, right? Like, objectively, it is still one of Siege's best maps. It is one of the most played, popular maps in the entire Siege, I would say, history at this point. It is also not a modernized map. just for context, for anybody who's thinking, hey, yeah, no, I might hop into Siege, play some matches. If you get Oregon, it's not a modernized map yet, folks. It probably will be in like season 3 or 4. But that was funny to me when we were watching the reveal, and like, yeah, we've got these 5 new modernized maps, and it's Bank and Border and Clubhouse. And I'm just sitting there waiting for them to, say Oregon. Nope, Oregon never gets that shout out. So it is what it is. But just, a little tangent aside, coming back to the tournament, of course, remember, folks, that these teams are fighting for a prize pool of 50,000 INR. That's quite a good amount of money, all things considered. First place getting 25,000, second place getting 10, and the final place, 15, I should say, and the final place, third place, getting 5,000. So there's a lot of money to fight for, a lot of money to divide between your friends. And if you want, it is a community cup. Group stages will once again be open for future seasons as we go on, because guess what? The Siege X hype train in South Asia, it is only just beginning. With all that said, while we wait for the map number 2 to come into play, Baba, given what we know in map 1, given what we've seen so far, would you like to make any educated guesses on what we might see in map 2 Clubhouse?
No, I just really like it when you just throw me under the bus and be like, yes, yes, Baba, enlighten us with some amazing words of wisdom. Well, I have,
yes.
like, my brain is currently empty right now, and I have no clue on what's going to happen on map number 2. But I know that for sure that when it comes to predictions, I'm really good at it. So I basically tend to not say it because I'm pretty sure it would end up spoiling the entire course of the entire matchup. But talking about, a Clubhouse itself, yes, we've seen a lot of matches that's happened on that same entire map. We have like multiple well-known sites, of course, the infamous second floor cache and the basement church and arsenal room, which is the most picked maps at the history of South Asia Rainbow Six Siege. And now seeing Clubhouse back again, I'm pretty sure the interesting parts about it would be the changes in bans, especially on second floor cache, where Azami is a must-have on garage stairs because her keeper barriers is so powerful. It ends up being such a powerful position. You would actually combo it with Azami and Wamai. So the Wamai's, disc should be able to catch up some of the projectiles, and of course, making the keeper barriers much more powerful. I mean, back then when Azami was released, oh boy, she was a menace in Clubhouse, Jack. Do you remember when Azami's keeper barriers' only counters were explosives, and the amount of explosives that we had from the attackers were it's just non-existent. They were forced to have either an Ash or a Zofia. I mean, I'm pretty sure even grenades didn't have a cook timer at this point. So in order to destroy the Zazami keeper barriers, she had to be nerfed, and a nerf was definitely a good thing to go for, because now you can actually destroy the keeper barriers through simple bullets, hopefully an entire mag to clear things off, making sure that there would be at least a bit of a fighting chance for the attackers to move in from. But still, Azami is still powerful. Why? Even though if you end up unloading an entire magazine, say like if the keeper barrier is still active, Azami can just immediately repeats and just says hello and goodbye both at the same time. So you still have to be careful. You still need to be careful on some certain strategies, and that's where the ban phase will come in effect, especially on a map like Clubhouse. 3 bans. 3 attacker bans, 3 defender bans. It always comes down to the adaptation, which means that Team UwU and Team KumKum can still adapt to each and every play styles that these teams have things in offer from. So if Team UwU goes in with the usual aggressive playstyle, of course, they need to rely on some certain trap operators. Hopefully a Capcan, hopefully a Frost. Even more so if you feel like, if you're going very low on HP, sure, you can go with Thunderbird, or you can go with the Doc to help you, help you with some sustain on the site itself. A simple barbed wire can also work. Barbed wire can also help you with not only information, but also deal damages for the attackers where they have no other choice but to either melee it, giving much more opportunities for the defenders to go in with those repeats. It always comes down to information, and of course, a lot of information can actually help you with sound. Reworked sound is present on Siege X. Sure, there are some certain maps that doesn't work out, but there are also some other maps where you can immediately feel like, all right, I know exactly where this sound is coming from. I think it's coming from the first floor. So I would say the sound design is really improved. But there are some certain rooms where it does feels a little bit confusing. But especially when it comes to information for the defenders. It is a very huge improvement. It will definitely help them in pinpointing the exact location for the attackers, making it much more easier for the defenders to defend themselves while being able to secure kills both at the same time. So a lot that I can talk about, but it always comes down to the way how the players play the game. Like I said, I'm just the caster. Every time when I play Clubhouse, I only just play Kali on attack, and on defense, I just play Echo because of course, I mean, Kiryu Kazuma. What can I say? I mean, he's in Rainbow Six Siege, might as well play him. That's what I do most of the time. I just either play Kali or Echo, both on attack on defense. But when it comes to serious point, there are a lot of avenues where the teams can go for, and a lot of opportunities where you could end up being in a victory or a defeat situation, and that's the best part about CJX.
I have to agree on that part. SiegeX it is at the end of the day fundamental Siege, right? It's not too dissimilar to what we have known for the last 10 years, and all things considered, for what we have known for the last 8 or however many years you've been playing the game. You know what, for those watching, leave in chat how long you've played Rainbow Six Siege for. I feel like that's something we would like to see, because it's always nice to see the players who've played for however long you have, and your experiences that have shaped your perception of Rainbow Six. But with that said, folks, looks like we are going to be going into the very first round of map number 2. Team UwU on the defense and Team KumKum on the attack, and we have ourselves the first set of bans coming in. Maverick and Azami to start us off on the map of Clubhouse. Maverick is an interesting decision, all things considered, that we don't normally see get banned anymore, because Maverick doesn't get played anymore all that much. But that's an interesting ban that we will of course expand on as we go into the second set of bans, and it's going to be the Blackbeard and the Kaid. These are expected. Azami as well. The only one that's kind of throwing me off is again that Maverick ban right there. But I think all things considered, given that second floor and bottom floor have areas where Maverick can be pretty deadly on, and there's hatches that Maverick can take out, I think that's a good ban, all things considered. Even though if you really were looking for a breacher ban, Ace or Thermite or even Hibana might have been the better pick. With all that said, folks, let's have a look at all the glorious lighting changes, texture changes that are in play on the map of Clubhouse as we go to map number 1.
Yep, map number 1. Actually, wait, it's map number 2, Jack. Map number 2.
Sorry,
Team UwU is out of map 1. It's all right. It's all right. It's all right, Jack. Yeah.
This is what happens when you wake up at 7 a.m. Okay.
Oh man, yeah.
And are on like 4 hours of sleep. Don't worry about it.
Totally justified. And like, don't mind me. I to be honest, even I also said map number 1 because I was way too much focused on the nostalgic days that we were casting for Siege for quite some time, right? But yeah. Anywho, map number 2 is a go. So is round number 1. Team UwU on defense, KumKum on attack, and I believe taking a look at the type of operators, we'll be seeing Tubarao be in play on the side of defense. Once again, courtesy of Bikini Bodhi. He actually helped me pronounce the name Tubarao because I actually called him top rotor at some certain moment. But yeah, focusing on the ground, second floor gym and bedroom is the site. And once again, the point of entry for the side of Team KumKum will be none other than second floor cache.
Second floor cache wall has already been breached, as we heard earlier. Ninja Free getting that breach done quickly, and B taking a ton of damage, potentially trying to bandit trick that off, but to no avail. Dizzy goes down as Expansion Tetra gets that first pick, and it's a huge one. Deimos coming in clutch, finding ways to deny operators, as right now we are setting up potentially for a breach on the bedroom wall, maybe on Jacuzzi wall. It should at least be the case very, very shortly. And here we have the Hibana coming in. Bandit batteries have been taken care of as Drish finds Ions. A little bit of return fire from Team UwU. More as Beat continues to sneak in to the cache room, or at least CCTV. And the pings being given away on Garage Catwalk does mean that the Bandit has to be very careful, as any rogue shot will be enough to take out that defender. Meanwhile, oh dear me, lots of shots fired by Jittery, but none of them connect. C4 might go out. Not yet, actually. That was just a C4 rip that didn't go anywhere. And right now, Expansion Tetra is being very careful as they don't have the bandit marked. So that's how Deimos works, right? For those unaware, with Deimos, you have to red ping or reveal defenders to get them on your HUD. And if you don't have them, you can't hunt them, with Deimos' little tracking drone. I don't think it really matters right now. As Dagger goes down, it's now a 2v4. And the side of Team UwU just kind of falling by the wayside. There we go. Final 2 bodies will be taken down in quick succession. And there you have it. Very strong start for Team OPK.
Yep. A really strong start and also a good entryway towards second floor, CCV. Of course, an Easter egg that I would like to call way back on Map Clubhouse. Let's take a look at the instant replay as well. Of course, CCV. We miss you, buddy.
Oh, man.
Defenders, protect your bombs from being defused by attackers.
All right. Yep. We do miss CCV, all things considered. Yeah, it's been a minute. It's been a minute since I've had a chance to catch up with an old friend. Going into round number 2 of map number 2, OPK with a good amount of starting momentum. At least they're giving themselves a nice break here because that first round, very important. It sets the tempo for the game. It sets it sets your rhythm, and it kind of dictates how the rest of the match might play out, depending entirely on, of course, how the enemy reacts. Team UwU, this round is now the round that they would want to retaliate with. How they go about doing so is the main question. We've got a Mira in play from the defensive side. That is to be expected. Basement Church and Arsenal Room being the site of choice. We've got a Goyo, and of course we've got a Capcan along with a Tubarao. Still, given the Cade is banned, the Tubarao is what's supposed to stop. Never mind, he was supposed to stop the hatch breaches. Got a little bit too jittery, going for a spawn peek potentially. Got taken out for his trouble. Rux getting that first kill, and any hatch denial or delay on the hatch breach, well, that is no longer going to be the case, because guess what? You've just lost that, those freezing canisters.
Yep. Could have been really helpful in at least delaying a lot of time for the attackers to go in for those breach. And with the early advantage, it makes it much more easier for the side of Team KumKum to, get advantage of it. A simple C4 toss, which will be present towards the main stairs. So if any of the attackers do make their move, Drish will be able to make sure to give them the information as best as possible. Blue control, not a lot of, control has been provided right there. So I believe that both Nex and Ninja Freak are trying to gain control of the main stores instead. So they don't like you to know exactly where the C4's locations are, but also, it will be very difficult though. Information-wise, a lot of information will be recorded from the Twitch's shock drones. Secondary hard breach will be used to open up the tunnels as well as the breach towards the kitchen, thanks to Hibana's Scaros pellets. And with every single standard strategy push that we see from the attackers, and everything is done. Now it always comes down to the execution. How will it go for Team KumKum?
All depends on the execution. That is correct. Right now we've got Hibana breaching hatches. We have the fuse going, explosions galore in and around the site. That vertical play, very important. But where does it go from here? Well, Breed's going to go down, but that's the refrag immediately from Dizzy. Expansion Tetra to fall. That is a big one as well, because that Ash has been pretty hurtful for these defenders to have to deal with. Goya canisters are being popped left and right below the hatch as they now gear for what is potentially going to be a hatch drop into a plant. 30 seconds, or give or take, remain. But this Hibana coming around these players could be the playmaker right now. The mirror windows have been popped, mind you. And, oh, Dizzy with a beautiful shot. Manages to catch one, but wait a minute, is that a hash drop? It might be, as Rux gets Dizzy on the other side. There's a down and a kill. Ninja Freak, that diffuser dropped in the side. That's not good for these defenders. Just a momentary relapse on the hatch watch, but the Capcan goes down. Rux gets taken down in a triple kill. Gets the kill, excuse me. But the hatch, nobody was above there. Where is Nex? Nowhere to be found, as they are below on the site. And the diffuser has been dropped. That means the defenders will win in what is a very surprise retake from that Melusi, getting the flank at the right moment, allowing for Team UwU to take their first round as well.
Yep. And that, folks, is what I like to call Clubhouse 101. A simple breach and everything is present, but next thing you know, wait a minute, there's actually players in the site. How do we deal with them? And then the entire first minute ends up in a chaotic gunfight where it's either the attackers who gain control or it's either the defenders who would end up stealing the show away. And it was none other than Drish, who just realized that he had the opening. Not quite sure going in for a plant like this from Rux was a good idea. Maybe he could have gone in as safe as possible, but looks like that didn't quite work out well in the end. But at least that will give the victory for the side of Team UwU. The first round on basement defense will be theirs. And of course, Brand will be present to make sure that the Jacuzzi will be electrified. Some changes will be made on the operators, especially on the side of Team UwU. So you have Drish with playing as the defender Vigil. And of course, DZ will be, playing as the operator, which is very powerful to block important lines of sight. So, all in all, I have to say that this third round, the site being on second floor gym, I believe, will be an interesting one to see whether KumKum can handle things out. All right, Expansion Tetra once again denying the early peaks that UwU has tried to be making for the past 2 rounds. This time it's not working out well. First it was Jittery and now it's Rish. And now with it, once again, advantage is theirs for KumKum, especially on man.
I think a certain amount of caution needs to be thrown back into the wind because I'm not sure how much of these spawn peaks that, this team wants to continue doing. Expansion Tetra gets another one. That's Jittery off the board. The grenades are out, and that's going to allow for the Thermite to get the big breach done on CCTV. They've already lost 2 bodies just protecting this part of the map. Jacuzzi wall hasn't even been opened yet. They don't even need to worry about that because they've got a Thatcher, they've got a Sophia, they've got everything they would need to allow for another big breach on another part of the map. So realistically speaking, Team UwU are just tossing bodies at the opponents, hoping for it to work. Dagger, meanwhile, does get Ions, who unfortunately hasn't yet quite opened their books. But my point stands. These opening peaks that they keep making, Team UwU, that is. Last round, I believe it was Jittery. This round, it was Drish. I don't think they are going to be the play that they want to, stake their lives by, because it just hasn't been working out. They're already still at a disadvantage, 3-4, or 3 versus 4, I should say. A minute 20 on the clock. Here we go. Sophia stuns her out, but the Doc stays unfazed. He could heal himself right now. He has the time, potentially, but he's going to go for the peak anyway and gets taken down by Rux. Lizzie gets next on the other side, making it an even 2v2. Make that a 2v1. Vaulting Expansion Tetra, the Deimos gets caught out, trying to do some movement. Now it's all down to Rux. The last one standing, caught by the outside terrace. Goes into TV, sees the Fenrir, takes a bit of damage. Fenrir falls back deep into office. That's what you want to do. You want to just make sure you're not giving away your position. You're not overextending. You just need to take a second and think, right? Pick your fights effectively. Rux now in a bit of a hard position in the meanwhile. There's a bandit in the bathroom, and there's one in logistics, and there's a C4 that was pre-placed. How long ago was that C4 placed? A very, very long time ago, to answer your question, dear viewer. And Beat, well, blows him up to Kingdom Come. Team UwU, 2-1.
For a brief moment, I felt like I had like a cane in my hand, and I felt like I was 60 years old. I was like, wait a minute, the C4. How many years has it been? It's been 84 years. Someone prime up the C4. But yeah, jokes aside, I have to say, I have to give credit to Expansion Tetra, Jack, because Expansion Tetra, great work on the garage, man. Really good work. He used a grenade to ensure that the bandit trick wouldn't happen, and he kept pressuring towards garage. It was such a good way to give them the opening towards second floor cash, and having both a lot of time for the side of Team KumKum to focus more on the side. That was a really great job for Expansion Tetra, and I have to say, especially when it comes to the execute of the side, that's where things started to go haywire, and that's where UwU made their presence known, especially Dagger. My god, he always surprises me in so many levels. I mean, 2 concussives were thrown out from the Zofia. His he was blinded like a bat, and somehow he ends up getting the jacuzzi kill while being blinded. You know, he was like, all right, if I'm blinded, no worries. I'll just close my eyes and do it anyway. And he just did it in style. It's like both of these teams are just giving their 100% in a community cup. And I love every single minute of this. This is an amazing CJ's gameplay that I've been watching for a very long time. And round number 4, once again, all eyes on these two teams.
Right now, we've got the castle setting up once again all over the place in this open area between between Blue Door and the rest of the first floor. A little bit of a Twitch zappage happening there as well. Nothing too particularly difficult for Dizzy to handle. But never mind, Ninja Freak is gonna go down. Expansion Tetra does get Thrish in return, but goes down to Dagger. Lots of gunfights happening around this front door. Shots have been fired, but no, the shotgun might not have been the best idea for Jittery right there, as Nex will come back and take that kill. Very low health though, Nex. So you're gonna have to be careful on what gunfights you choose to go for. Mind you, all of that was happening with the castle setup down below. You might have thought, hey, is it basement that's the site of choice? No, it is second floor CCTV, and of course for good reason, because they can't go basement just yet. They won basement in round number 2, so it won't be unlocked until after round number 4. Here we go. Breach on the main wall is gonna happen potentially. Beat could maybe Beat could maybe trick this out if he is active, and yes, there we go. Hipana pellets have been denied, which means there's only so much that Team OPK can do to get in the site, which involves a lot of direct gunfight.
Yep. Direct gunfights, you can't cook nades from below anymore, because, you know, that was the only way where you can, you know, remove other players from the bandit's side, but it's a headshot to take out the player, and here comes Rux once again. The 416 marksman rifle doing its work. Making sure the control with this towards cash room, but there's a lot of tensions that could arrive on the B side. So Sophia is all the way towards the construction window, making sure that he'll be able to provide important lines of sight. But how would you deal with the player who's playing in towards garage? The push will be made. Peaks, who's going to win this first? Will it be Dagger? Yep, looks like it is. Triple kill for him. Concussions will be used, but at a very late timing. As for the attackers, they're wasting a lot of time once again. Same position. Dagger, he doesn't even have to move. No movement at all. He was just basically playing the mannequin challenge at this point. And that is one way for Team UwU to be securing another round victory on the side of defense. 3-1 as we proceed to round number 5. And I believe we actually forgot to talk about the ban phase as well. They've actually banned Demos as well as Fenrir. Fenrir was really powerful, especially on the defensive side, and they really just wanted to make sure that he would be just removed off so that they'll be able to focus more on, you know, 1v1 gunfights. But, you know, turns out, you know, it is still working on some certain scenarios for Team KumKum, but on the side of defense, I think there is still a chance that KumKum can come back, but Team UwU, like, really fantastic defense coming in from that end.
Indeed. Really, really good defense all around from the side of Team UwU, as they have put themselves up on the board 3-1. And yeah, I would like to talk a little bit more about that Demos ban that is on the attackers. And right now, Team UwU, we're definitely feeling the heat of the Kara's Legion, thanks to Demos' presence. And that ban is pretty much a no-brainer, right? Like, other operators have been pretty, you know, ruthless as well. They could have banned the Thermite, they could have banned the Hibana, whatever have you. More generic bans for Clubhouse, but no, they needed that Demos gone. They needed to take him out of Expansive Tetra's hands just to slow him down, and that's the good part about these 3rd round bans, or 4th round bans, depending on how you look at it, that we have now as of CJX. Valkyrie coming out from Dizzy, that is of course a very good operator play in this regard, but you do have, well, both the Twitch and the IQ, and that one camera that we did see Dizzy throw out got completely denied in that same moment. Meanwhile, going for the secondary breach, going in on dirt wall, and that of course is going to allow for entry. IQ, I like this pick from Team OPK. Find that util, take it out. You got me Gemmers, you got the pulse as well. So there's so much that IQ can find as we move further and further into this round.
And also, like, especially IQ as an operator, you should not underestimate the power that IQ has, especially being able to detect important utilities that is necessary to head in towards the execute of the site while being cautious and prepared is actually definitely a good thing to go. You know, you'll be able to detect the C4. Oh no, Trish. That is so unfortunate. He was just trying to detect the IQ from the kitchen, but ended up C4ing himself. And would you look at that? IQ definitely has the advantage here. Thanks to those IQ, he immediately realized what that utility is, got the kill, but once again, equalizer will be made, and it's none other than Chitri with the power of SMG11. A second shot, Chitri, my man. 2 kills back to back, and once again, Team UwU are looking very bright on Map Clubhouse.
Jittery has awoken indeed. He's no longer feeling jittery as there goes another one down, and the Valkyrie will get taken down in return. Lily gets traded by Nex, but it's still a 3v2. And the attackers, once again, feeling the heat and feeling the beat of this mute sitting on the on the first floor. I was going to say second.
Oh,
again, but no. Oh, ow! Jittery! He has awoken. The beast
Welcome back, Jittery.
is out to play. He does go down finally. Next does take that kill, denying the 4K. But still, 30 seconds on the clock. Currently on main stairs, position given away, facing down a mirror window of all things. Realistically, this IQ is not going to get too far. Maybe try to drop the hatch. That might actually be the play here. And no one is actually watching the hatch drop, so that could actually work out right now. Both of them are watching on the church side. So maybe this IQ could drop and Nex could get an easy couple of kills. But no, Nex doesn't know where these defenders are. Shots are fired. He's looking towards boxes, and that is where the Capcan is. Beautiful headshot right there. Now you've got to find the Mira or go for the plant. He's going to go for the plant, and there's only so much time remaining. And in the meanwhile, of course, as we have a quick look at the instant replay, the round is going to be won by the defenders, as is to be expected. Team UwU going 4-1 up.
Yep, 4-1. As we see Team UwU securing 4 rounds of defense, and I believe round number 6 will be the final round to determine whether if they could end in a 5-1 scoreline. But I would say Team KumKum, they can bring it back. So DZ will start things off by bringing in the Clash. Mira will be present. So is Castle. Aruni. I mean, Castle's armor panels really great in establishing important positionings, especially on the nearby sites. So I would say that for Castle, construction will be so heavily guarded. So are the rest of the other buildings that, not buildings, sorry, the rest of the other rooms, which would be more than enough for Team UwU to hold their ground. So I believe Team OP KumKum have no other choice but to bring in a counter for this. So maybe a sledge would help in, you know, to be able to break out those castle armor panels as soon as possible. But also information would be heavily important. So bring in a Twitch would help in surveilling some of the most important utilities that is required. But yeah, I would say take a look at the operators itself. You see a sentry being bought out from Expansion Tetra. Interesting operator pick right here. Interesting. I mean, sure, Expansion Tetra, he could bring in both the Impact EMPs followed up with the secondary hard breach, which could be very vital in solo breaching some of the walls. And it's very quick and effective too. That's the best part about the sentry, is that he's basically a do-it-yourself utility.
That is true. And to that end, of course, Sentry is a very versatile operator, right? So I do like the pick of Sentry here, and I will be excited to see where they can go from here. Although one other operator, Baba, that I think we were not able to see before, but we can now, there is the Clash in play. We've got someone in garage, and position unknown. Jittery did not have any clue that Nex was in garage with the punch hole already. So that's going to be one to go down, and a very good one as well. Jittery in the last round definitely showed up, so to speak. So in this round, in fact, that operator is no longer in play, and the Claymore will catch Thresh. A little bit of a collapse happening here early on from the side of the defense, as they've gotten a little bit too aggressive for their own good. That, of course, leaves them in a 3v5. All attackers healthy, no damage done, and defender cameras will probably be taken by the Dokkaebi as well, which means even more utility and intel given away to these attackers, allowing for Team OPK to claim even more of this map.
Yeah. Two of the important players down for the count for Team UwU and for Team KumKum. Not a single one has been removed out of the equation just yet. Make it much more stronger, foresight, execute, and a lot more pressure that could be directed towards Team UwU's end. One of the C4 is still present from Beats' end, but looks like that important pick from Ions will make sure that victory would be imminent. DC, headshot pick up Ninja Freak, but will it be enough? They are losing bodies left, right, and center, and now it's all up to Beat. Down in a 1v4, not a lot of information to go around with. The grenade will get caught out. He'll get absolutely obliterated, and with it, we will see the attackers secure second floor gym and end the first half on a 4-2 scoreline.
Now that was a really good round for Team OP KumKum as they showed up in droves, for that matter. Fully awake, fully ready to deny Team UwU a 5-1, and they desperately needed that round too after losing 4 straight rounds back to back. Now that we're moving into the second half, of course, we're going to expect a couple of generic bans here and there, as Blackbeard and Kaid are the first 2 operators to go down, and there go Clash and Maverick. As is to be expected, the Maverick one is still a little bit awkward to me because, again, you can realistically just ban a different breacher and have a better result, but given, I do actually, now that I think about it, now that I've had the chance to really digest that ban, right, I think I understand why they're going for the Maverick ban. Electricity in Siege is now a neutral tool as of Siege X, right? It no longer damages, it simply slows you down and makes you scream a little bit. So, Maverick can very safely create the breach in CCTV and in gym bedroom, right? Jacuzzi wall. Because you no longer have to stay on the ground and risk getting shot. You just have to rappel upside down, and that's it. Your wall is open. So actually, now that, you know, all that is put into consideration, that is 100% a very good ban on this map. So, you know what? Point taken. You learn as you go, right? It's been a while that I have casted Siege, and it's been a while that I've casted Siege in Siege X. It's not been very often that I get to do it, and Maverick doesn't get plates very often either. So, you guys gotta forgive me as we're all on this journey of learning and discovery together. I know, that sounds corny, but it is what it is. Azami manning this area in, of course, the garage. Just setting up these Kiba barriers, ready to go. And meanwhile, we've got the Thatcher Thermite combo from the attack. Team UwU ready to show us what they're good for.
You know, I do have to agree with that sentence, Jack, because even I also thought when they were going for a ban with the Maverick, I thought they were just banning it because, you know, Maverick would be able to draw the Mona Lisa on the walls, right? Because and they just don't want to have those distractions present on the site. But yeah, jokes apart, once again, let's head back into the site on the second floor cash room, and once again, Tubara will be present. Froze, as our popular Sub-Zero once frozen in place, and now the breach will happen in towards garage this time, but a lot of contestations will be made towards the side of garage. Once again, the thermite charges will be removed, which means that second floor cash room wall is now safe.
I do feel like they got a little bit too impatient trying to get that breach going, as Dizzy unfortunately has been down. Next will take that kill very gladly. So, but going back to what happened on that main wall of CCTV, I feel like they got just too impatient, all things considered, and they didn't wait for the Capital and the Ace to finish breaching garage and give them that little bit of leeway, which is, of course, the Capital bolt going all the way through the garage window and into CCTV. That is a very good strategy to get the bandit off of the trick. And even if that doesn't necessarily guarantee that Tubara will be forced away, it still could have potentially worked. But now, all you have to do is use up that third Tubara charge, and that's not going to be the kind of breach that you initially were looking for. Capital Firebolts are out, and that's going to be towards Garage Catwalk to try and deny that Azami. Shots are fired, so many shots fired, and Jittery does manage to get the kill. Drish gets another one. That's Ions off the board, and now suddenly it's a 4v2 as Rux and Next are the last ones standing for this team, for this defensive lineup, as they have to man this defense. They have to make sure that nobody goes down. There is a C4 for that Tubarao, but Rux will get beat from pure gunfire instead. That DMR, ever so powerful. 30 seconds on the clock, and they have to get in. They have to get this plant going. It is a case of now or never. Tubara's gone up red, and that's another great shot by Rux. Is this player unstoppable or what? 8 and 4 so far with the double in their hands, but no, they're going to get denied as Drish gets the kill from bottom red. That leaves this last player. Never mind, Next gets caught out on top red as well. The Thermite getting the final 2 will allow for Team UwU one more round. They are 5 and 2 up. And folks, if there was ever a time to take a pause for Team OP KumKum, it is now.
Yep, absolutely. And once again, a really great example on how counters work. Especially we did get to see on Jittery's perspective, bringing in the Capitão's fireballs would definitely help in flushing out the players who are actually, playing in a very good spot on Garage. That's the main reason why you need to combo it, to make sure that those fireballs would get caught off from those Bomai magnets. That is why it is so important. You can clearly see that the attackers did take their time first, right? First, they opened up the walls towards Garage so that they'll be able to find out exactly where those Bomai's magnet nades are. And then the second, once Jet realizes that, all right, everything is safe, I'm very confident to use those fireballs, he used it towards Garage to ensure that he'll be able to ensure that the Garage control would be theirs. They have done it. They've managed to secure the important parts, which is the Garage. Very crucial, especially when you're going in for an execute on second floor cash room. Very vital, very important, and basically textbook siege, as I'd like to call it. So all in all, for Team UwU, they did take their time, but they've made sure to proceed to the site as cool, calm as possible, and also very strategic from their end. So yeah, from the side of Team KumKum, they did manage to hold the ground as best as possible. Great shot from Rux's DMR, and the best thing about attachments is that there is a lot of changes on the attachments too, right, Jack? Especially with the angled grip, now where it decreases reload. And of course, you have a horizontal grip that basically increases the movement speed of those players. So basically, players now have a choice on whether if they want to sprint, whether if they want to have high mobility, or would they need to have decreased reload time, in which it is very useful for DMR type weapons, right? For DMR type weapons, you only have around 11 or 12 bullets minimum to max, especially Tubarao's DMR has very low ammo. So having an angled grip followed up with an ACOG sight is very useful, especially when you run out of ammo. You can just basically reload it back up. The reload time is very low, which makes it easier for Tubarao to basically have a DMR as his weapon of choice.
Having that DMR on Tubarao is actually a very, very powerful choice as well, because it is, it's just a good gun, right? It is the same DMR that Maverick has. All things considered, it's a relatively good choice. It's a safe pick, and if you don't want to deal with the slightly lower damage output of the MPX, which even by SMG standards in Rainbow Six is a little underpowered. I mean, I say that Warden, being the menace that he was for so long, would have otherwise, to say. But I think it comes down to weapon skill, right? The MPX is low recoil, definitely faster to aim and put into use. And all things considered, that's probably why it's played as much as it is, despite its statistical damage being lower than average. However, on the other side with Tubarao, I think it's a no-brainer most of the time that, let's just, let's just pick this DMR and give ourselves a little bit more breathing room, right? And the angle grip, like you said, Baba, it doesn't increase ADS speed anymore. I think it is actually reload speed as it stands now, which it doesn't necessarily make too much sense to me how an angle grip increases your reload speed, but hey, I'm not going to question it, right? This is also the game where people pull out 5 feet, 6 feet wide reinforcements out of their pockets from just pretty much nowhere. So I'm not going to question it. My whole point being that the angle grip does make sense on Tubarao, especially if you're running the DMR, because hey, you might not ADS faster, but you are still getting that little extra reload speed. You're making sure to give yourself the cover that you need, and that allows you to make more aggressive plays, right? And that ultimately is what's more important. As we stand, of course, right now, The technical pause will be actually unpaused in just a moment as all the players have rejoined. For those who were wondering, why are we taking so long to get into round 8, casters? It is because we had to just take a moment, I think it was Ninja Freak who had disconnected to back in to the lobby, and they are. Both sides are ready, and we're going to be going straight into round number 8.
Yep, round number 8 is a go, and of course, this usually happens, but right now I believe we did get the ready confirmation from both the sides, which means we are readied up, and we just need to wait and watch and see how round 8 unfolds. And I just realized that we still haven't made the third bans yet. I'm quite curious to know what would those bans be according to the total of 5 rounds that they've gone for. So attacker wise, he doesn't have to worry about picking any operators of now, because you still have the attackers repick. You'll be able to still repick the attackers as what they want. No more 6th pick, no more surprise pick. Back in the days where 6th pick was it didn't quite exactly work as intended. But now having an attackers repick followed up with massive changes on most changes on bans, not ban, brings a lot more interesting strategies in which both the teams could use from. And that's the exciting part about it, because you don't know what kind of strategies might appear out of nowhere, and new strategies which would make us feel like, wait a minute, you can actually do that with this specific type of operator. And the level of creativity and the amount of experimenting is exactly what CJX is in stores for us. And I'm all up for it. I am all up to see each and every tactics that is present, and the way how they'll be able to counter it would be an interesting way to look at CJX in this perspective. But for now, let us resume back to round number 8. Prep phase has come to an end. Action phase is present, which means Team UwU on the way to break down the site of 2nd floor cash room with the help of Trish and DC. DC has the impact EMPs, which could be used to disable it. But how would you deal with Ions' battery charges from Bandit? Let's find out.
It is interesting to see that they're not going to go for the Capital strat when it comes to denying the Bandit batteries, and looks like they're instead going to just try to go straight in for a breach, and you can't do that while it's frozen, of course. The Bandit does manage to get the trick right before Thermite is able to pull that, exothermic charge off the wall. Meanwhile, Jittery is going to get downed and get taken out, but wait a minute, Dizzy's just walking up right now. Tries to shoot the Frostman, does get that one, and that's actually going to be huge because that destabilizes the entire site. Next, going down in that situation, caught between a Lion Scan and an approaching Dokkaebi. It's a good place to be in for any particular operator. And that's a good kill as well. That equalizes the score count. Never mind, Rux with a beautiful shot. Finds Dagger. That's your Lion gone too, so whatever remaining Big Brother scans they had will no longer be in play. It's now all down, of course, minute 30 to these final 3 attackers. They need maybe a couple more bodies before they can think about making inroads at any point into this map. Logic Bomb goes out from Dokkaebi. That's the last Logic Bomb as well. Construction wall is going to be broken wide open. Never mind. Thubarao comes in and says, no, not yet. You are not going to pass, not for the time being.
Yep. The denial is working well from Rux, which means that a lot of time has been expended from the attacker's side. The breach will be done towards construction. A long angle will be present, and this time DZ will be removed out all the way from the stairs, which makes it even much more difficult for Team UwU to secure this site. And KumKum has made an exceptional job of holding this site. Kudos to Rux using the abilities of the canisters, making sure that they'll be able to take quite a lot of time, which forces Dresh to be in a 1v4 situation. Very difficult situation to be in. A lot of positionings, a lot of information is not being relayed for the attackers, so he's all by himself. All he has is a weapon and a dream of that ace to happen, where it's very low. The possibility of having that clutch is very low because you're losing a lot of time. You only have 10 seconds. And I believe that this round will go to none other than Team KumKum. There you go. Headshot will be delivered from Ninja Freak. And with it, we will see the team secure a round of defense in the second half.
And a much needed round of that for Team OPK as they reduce the deficit by 1. Now 3-5 instead of 2-5 down. They still need to win 2 more, mind you, just to equalize, and then 2 more to win outright. So that's 4 rounds that they need to win. But will they be able to do so is anybody's guess. We're going to be moving to Basement Church and Arsenal Room into the next round, folks. And it is round 9, so that means after this round, one more operator can be banned. And I think we can all take a pretty good guess as to who from the defenders is going to get banned in this regard. I do believe, making this prediction is pretty safe right now. It's going to have to be the Tubarão, because Timo Piquet has put Tubarão to fantastic use in this second half. And on the other side, for the attackers, they might see that Jokobi go bye-bye. For now, however, I do have to say that Team UwU looks a little bit more shaky this time around. Even in the rounds that they've won, it's come down pretty close, all things considered. And I think something has to do with the way that Jittery and Beat have taken a bit of a back seat in this particular matchup, or this particular map, I should say. Because last map, thinking back from them, they were very active. They were very proactive in making their rounds their own, taking each individual pick, taking each individual gunfight, and winning it to the best of their ability. This time around, that responsibility seems to have fallen more towards Dagger and Dizzy, with Grish kind of coming up as a secondary gunner. Jittery and Beat, not so much. But speaking of Dizzy, he's going to get one, and a huge one of that. That's next on your Solus of the board. So attacking utility, especially drones, will be just a little bit more safe now that Solus is no longer able to actively hunt for them.
Yep. Now that they've managed to take out the Solus, how would they deal with the roto canisters that's present from Brux's end? Because he'll be able to delay quite a lot of utilities. I wouldn't say destroy them, delayed in a way that it could cause massive issues from the side of Team UwU. So in a 5v3 situation, unfortunate disconnect coming in from Ninja Freaks' end. Could be a lot more difficult coming in from Team KumKum's end. So here comes the the ability once again to be able to open up the entirety of Kitchen. And I believe the execute will be underway. That will be made. I believe it's from the roto canister, the canisters that is present from the Tubarão's end. Make it much more easier to focus on the other lines of sight. There you go. Breach will be complete. Kitchen's breach is done. So is the C4. Let's just have to work up the C4. One of them already been used. I believe they still have one more C4 to handle with the execute. I believe they'll use one C4 for plant denial, which is very important. But all in all, here comes the execute, and for Team UwU, they are in it to win it.
Deathmark will fail. That is, of course, the Karis Legion. Oh, never mind. Deimos says, alright, Deathmark fail. I'm just going to come in and shoot you anyway. Manages to get that kill, and a huge one of that. Shots are fired, and there goes Drish. Taking one. Ions goes down, and it's just a set of trades, one after the other. Back to back to back to back. And then, of course, the the Grim coming down blue stairs, managing to find the final 2 defenders. Catching them and turning the round around for the side of Team UwU. They are now 6-3 up. They are match point, folks. It's not just map point right now. They are very close to just winning it outright. One more round. That's all they need to make it a potential 7-3. And there we go. The 2 operators, well, actually one of the 2 that I had predicted. It is, of course, Tubarão to get banned. I'm surprised that Deimos was the one who got banned from the side of the attackers, as we do have a little bit of an unfortunate disconnect, looks like, from the side of the defense. And that, of course, means technical difficulties. It is what it is. Right now, it is 6-3, and we are going to be potentially going into a round number 10 situation with, with a little bit of an unfortunate moment for the side of the defense. But, sometimes it just happens. You got to take it, roll with the punches, as they say. Basement Church, once again, the site of choice. And right now, Team UwU have a commanding lead as well. 3 whole rounds is hard to deal with already. And then, given the fact that you're 0-1 down on the map count as well, it is not going to look too good for you in this moment. The mental has to be definitely hurt quite a bit from Team KumKum, as they need to kind of pull themselves up by their, pretty much by the scuff of their collars, and play to their strengths. Oh dear me, that's a spawn peek, And I don't think anybody expected that one because Rux manages to get dizzy, and that will make it very equal between the two teams.
Yep. I'm pretty sure that Dizzy will definitely feel dizzy when he actually did get that spawn peek out from Rux out of nowhere. But when it comes to the shield, I'm afraid for the side of Team KumKum, the choo-choo train is now in effect, and it's going to be very chaotic coming in from both the sides. The Montaigne still in effect. Here comes the melee, and turns out Roxanne wins this. Holy cow! Triple kill from Roxanne, just like that. Team KumKum, they just secured round number 10 just like that.
Alright, I have questions about what even happened in that last round. So did everybody just decide to push in through dirt? Did the Montaigne just not have an idea that someone else is playing box? Like, what happened? Team UwU, I have questions. And questions
it's
that will
a choo-choo
probably
train. What do you expect?
Yeah,
It's
no,
a choo-choo train.
Those are questions that will probably be answered when we go back and watch back the VOD of the stream, right? It is what it is. 6-4 is the score count, inching ever so closer to that mythical overtime round, folks. But again, let's temper our expectations. We might go there, we might not, as the Basement Church has been won, and we will be moving to second floor CCTV for this next round. And Team OPK, they have their work cut out for them. Still 2 more rounds to win, still 2 more daunting asks for them. And that's just to equalize and go to overtime. That's still not a guaranteed win, mind you. So they are definitely going to have to keep up the energy that they showed us in the previous round. And we are just waiting for the ready confirmation to get into the next round itself. Round number 11. Boy, howdy. This is going to be a very, very interesting round indeed.
Yep, an interesting round. From the side of KumKum, though, especially with Rux's out of nowhere quad kill that had just happened, and from Team UwU's side, a little bit of, fun and banter around the sides. But hopefully, once we get the ready confirmation, we'll be able to proceed to the next round. And I believe ready will be made. There you go. Jit able to pick the attacker of his choice. And with it, map point from the side of Team UwU, and the site will be none other than second floor CCTV and cash room. The most infamous maps as we get to see in every single map on South Asia. It's always a do-or-die situation, especially in this map. It's either the defenders who gets it or the attackers. But now, since with the new bans that had just happened, for the defenders, unfortunately, they cannot use the barrage. So the amount of rounds that Team KumKum has secured, all thanks to that one single operator. But now, since he's banned, how will they adapt to it? Can we see Team KumKum bring in other types of strategies that could end up providing the win that they require? Or will we see Team UwU using that ban to secure that win?
Now that you mentioned the fact that they can't do without bandit trick the main wall anymore, yeah, that's true. But from the attacker side, they do have the Thatcher, which I am grateful that they have brought. But I do have questions still. They could still definitely use the Capitao, and I'm not sure what happened with the Twitch drone right there, but Capitao is very good at clearing out that bandit, who would love to just sit there and waste time by denying breach, right? So taking out the bandit is very much paramount. And to do that, one of the best ways to do it is through, that Capitao. Now, there is Jaeger. I will concede there is Jaeger, and you can always just deny any of those situations. Oh, dear me, never mind.
Oh, boy.
Looks like Ions didn't see the lasers of the Claymore. Gets taken out for his trouble. And all of that, waffling about the breach, it will be done. And the main wall of CCTV has been blown wide open. Shots are fired. Drish has gone down in the meanwhile to the Jaeger who is below. Sights are on Garage. There was a player in there. I believe it was the Frost Expansion Tetra who has just since. Shots are fired, and Dagger managed to get Expansion Tetra on the run back on the top of Garage Catwalk. So I think Garage might have been cleared out, which means that this area of the map, especially CCTV, might actually be up for grabs. But They're trying to get into construction as well to go for a little bit of a side push. Meanwhile, Next gets Dagger. That's a big kill on the other side. Huge peek from Ninja Freak, and he gets Jittery to fall. Another headshot beautifully done by Nex, and just a complete collapse once again for these attackers as they fall to the wayside. Now, Beat 1v2 against a Doc and against a Jaeger will be caught, will be taken off the board, and that's going to be another round for Team OPK. I have thoughts about that last round that we just saw. More specifically, about these individual peaks and picks that Team UwU somehow became very obsessed with taking. What happened to the coordination that we were seeing? Because guess what? Even if you lost that first operator, fine. Buck is down. You're doing what you do. Great. That's fine. You don't have to worry too much about it, because guess what? Garage is clear, right? Suddenly, they make the decision to vault in through bedroom and just try to go in through construction. When you have an entire half of the map that is cleared out for you, you have your standard entry into CC, right? Thermite could, if you're worried about getting in through Garage, Thermite still has an exothermic charge. Get into Garage, use that exothermic, breach the Garage wall. That is your entry. They don't have a C4, right? Because Azami doesn't have a C4. Doc doesn't have a C4. Neither does Jaeger. You're in a 4v3 in that situation. You have all the advantage in the world. I don't know why they decided to go towards bedroom and towards construction, because even in the moment of watching it, it was a confusing decision. And it ended up losing them the round as they completely fell apart trying to get construction wall open. Like, it literally was a 1v3 for the Thermite before construction wall was even open. So, all things considered, not the best decision making from Team UwU. Hopefully they can clean it up going into round number 12, the round of ones.
Yep. Once again, Jittery bringing in the recruit with a frag grenade and an EMP. It's an interesting, utilities to be brought up. Also a very powerful one of that too. So, although let's just say that they've managed to take up the jacuzzi, how will they deal with the Mira wall that is present right behind it? And once again, great use of the bandit charges from Ninja Freak, and thanks to the armor panel that's present from Castle, you have a lot of protection where he doesn't have to worry about shots being made all the way from second floor gym window. So this is good. The breaches will be a bit delayed, and now the problems from Team UwU arises, knowing that, the breach has been halted, there's a lot of time being wasted around, and that is definitely not a good sign coming in from the attacker's side, because the more time you lose, the more problems it creates. The more problems it creates, the more chances for the defenders to be able to win the round, and you definitely don't want to do that. So since Jacuzzi hasn't been breached, they have no other choice but to head in towards second floor cache, and looks like the opening has been provided thanks to Jittery. Rux goes down. There goes the control towards second floor. One down will be made. Jittery, does he know the information on the third player? No, but a confirmation will be given nonetheless. But how they deal with the mirror virus that's currently being present on construction? Well, the hatch is still present. They could provide, they could basically, open up the hot hatch and open it up. But Jittery, he is on another new level. He just denied the roam that was happening all the way from the stairs. And now they just lost 3 players back to back. All in the hands of Jittery. He might be able to go in for an ace quad kill from Jittery. One more kill. He is so low on HP. Expected Jittery's location has been revealed, but it's Beat who steals the ace away. That is so unfortunate. But in the end, for the side of Team UwU, they will deny OT and manage to secure map number 2 on Clubhouse, which means that Team UwU will secure the first matchup of the semi-finals, and unfortunate for the side of Team KumKum, they will bow out from the tournament. But all in all, an amazing efforts being delivered from both the sides. That actually reminds me of a good joke. Jack, what happens when Capitao wears a cap? He'd be named as Captain. It's just a simple puns, folks. It's just it has nothing to do with the stuff that was happening. But I'm good. But yeah, anyway, to be honest though, I still can't hear Jack coming in from the other side. But yeah, all in all, I have to say like great matches coming in from both the sides, and of course, this is actually a first semifinals matchup that's happening right now, and I really cannot wait to see the second semifinals matchup, which will happen in tomorrow, and of course the grand finals, which will be a best of five.
Yeah, no, this is definitely quite the match that we just had, folks, because all things considered, I think a 7-5 was not quite on the cards for anybody, particularly in terms of predictions. At least it wasn't for me, because I didn't expect that Team UwU would have the moments that they ended up having. Though I think, thinking back towards Border, they were definitely showing signs of oversight and maybe a little bit of over aggression, overextending, as it were, all the overs that you can think of, essentially, right? And right now here in the Clubhouse, Team OPK did give them a little bit of a run for their money, as 7-5 is about as close as it gets without going to overtime, right? So very good stuff from both teams, and all in all, just great plays happening between them, and great stuff being shown. Great Siege X, I should say, being played between both these teams. And shout outs to Team OPK. They fought their hardest, and while they will have to bow out from this Community Cup, of course, whenever this comes back or in future tournaments, I'm sure we will see them back once again. Team UwU will be the ones to take this particular match to the victory, all the way to a 2-0, denying map 3. And guess what? We don't get to see Consulate one more day. That makes me a happy Jack. But all that said, folks, that is, of course, going to do it for tonight's game, the semifinal one of the Fragnation Rainbow Six Siege X Community Cup in collaboration with Ubisoft. I've been Blackjack, of course, coming back once again to South Asian Rainbow Six Siege, and it has been a pleasure to be back here alongside my co-host and longtime duo, Baba Gusta. And of course, shout out to all the production in Fragnation for making this possible, and for, of course, Ubisoft for providing us with Siege X. Big thanks to both the teams for playing, and big thanks to you, the viewer, at home tonight, watching with us, watching along, as we have seen this game go up and down and up again through its many trials and tribulations. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for joining us. And of course, remember to follow us at Fragnation on Twitter and Instagram. And of course, to join the Discord, discord.gt, /Fragnation for your community events, for the R6 meme shares, for the dual showdown, and of course, the 1v1s and any future tournaments that will be happening. Tournament news and registrations for a potential season 2 or even more in the future, as it were. With all that said, folks, I would like to say one more thing, is that Team UwU have shown us a great game, and in the grand finals best of 5, they had better shown us even more of all the juicy plays that they made today. Team OPK, unfortunately, not quite having the same staying power tonight as they probably should have, given the roster that they do boast. However, what they did show us in Clubhouse, I'm very happy with. Would I have liked to see that even more in Border? Yes, absolutely. But with all that said, Baba Gusta, any closing thoughts before we end tonight's stream?
Oh man, closing thoughts, man. I don't know what to say, man. It's like casting 2 matches with you, Jack, has been an absolute pleasure. And watching those 2 matches up again, it brought me a lot of great memories. And seeing CJax growing up, especially with some major changes, and once again a massive support coming in from both Ubisoft as well as Team Fragnation, who's been doing their level best. Especially huge kudos to the admins, the broadcast, and of course the ones who are working on this broadcast to make sure that everything is working properly. So huge kudos to them. They've been working quite a lot to make sure that we would get this community tournament a success, and absolutely really did. 2 matches, of course, the first map being on Border and second map being on Clubhouse, was really great match to see. And I'm really glad that the professional players who are playing for Siege back in India scene have now came back. And all in all, I have to say, amazing matchups. Let's take a look at the summary as well that had happened on the 2 maps as well. making sure that we'll be able to tally up each and every kills that's been made on two of those maps. Actually, yeah, currently on map number 2, Clubhouse. So Dizzy with a total of 9 kills. The man was just, he was the danger zone at this point. He was wrecking havoc from the side of Team OPK, and it was like really difficult. But all in all, I have to say huge kudos to Rux. His performance as, the Tubara was really well, making sure to delay quite a lot of time for the defenders and giving the attackers a very tough time. And of course, Expansion Tetra with some amazing, a really great communication, and of course some great teamwork that did get to see there, making sure the team would end up being victorious on those most rounds. 10 kills for him, next to the total of 12, and Ions with a total of 2 kills.
Just generally really good plays all around from both sides in Clubhouse, as we saw in that match summary right there. And yeah, just generally great vibes in this matchup that we see between these two teams. All things considered, they gave us some fantastic seeds to cast, and that ultimately, as casters for us, is the best thing that we could have asked for. But of course, folks, as it is, all good things do eventually come to an end. And that good thing, of course, in this case, is this matchup. Once again, to remind all of those who may be joining us a little bit late if you're joining us right now, but it is a 2-0 score for Team UwU. They have won 7-0 and 7-5 on both of the maps, and will be proceeding on to the grand finals, best of 5, on Sunday night. And make sure you are there with us on that night, folks. It is going to be one hell of a game. But of course, we have one more semifinal to go, and that will be tomorrow, roughly the same time as today. So make sure you are back. Once again, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Make sure to follow us on Instagram and Twitter at Fragnation. And of course, join the Discord for more community events, R6 meme shares, the dual showdown, and the 1v1s, all the stuff that will be happening. Discord.gg/Fragnation. Once again, big shout outs to Ubisoft for allowing us this opportunity once again with SiegeX, and we hope to see even more big endeavors for the SiegeX hype train here in the South Asian region. I've been your host, Blackjack. Of course, joining me has been Baba Gusta, and of course, every application that has made this possible, from production to the admins to the observers. A big thank you to everyone. With all that said, folks, we're going to be signing off for the night, and we will once again be seeing you tomorrow. Stay tuned.
Maybe
right.
we
Looks
might
like we're
have
not
to
done
talk
yet.
more about it. Yeah,
we're
we're
not-
just not done yet. We're just not done
Yeah.
yet. Not to worry, folks. So we just, it's a prank. We just, we just wanted to see if everyone actually got the prank out of it. But guess what? We're still back in the caster scam. Yay! 5 seconds. That was actually a really good time coming from our end. 5 seconds. We're just, just looking at our cameras, just making sure that, you thought that we were signing off. Well, guess what? We just did an entire oopsie. So yeah, all in all, I have to say, yeah, don't forget about the events as well. We currently have 3 events that's present for Fragnation. One of them is called Steal the Show. All you have to do is submit best clips. Winner will receive a total of 1,200 R6 credits. The second one will be Dual Siege Takedown. If you have a duo and you want to compete in a 2v2 tournament, all you have to do is just make sure to join in on the Discord server called as Fragnation. Join, get yourself registered, make sure you have your duo, because facing off in a team deathmatch, winner will receive a total of 1,800 Rainbow Six credits. I mean, in that Rainbow Six credits, you can be able to afford a really good elite. And also, there's a new, a new skin that has just appeared, right? The Valkyrie's animated skin that looks so heavenly. It looks so heavenly. It feels like, it feels like there's like some certain Easter egg that I need to uncover. It could be related to a different game, maybe Assassin's Creed, maybe Splinter Cell, or maybe other, Ubisoft titles, where I might have to ponder and think, maybe there has to be something behind it. But yeah, anyway, Dual Siege Takedown 2v2s, a really interesting tournament. If you guys are interested, make sure to register. Once again, discord.com/Fragnation. And of course, the third one, which is the R6 meme competition. All you got to do is just submit Rainbow Six Axis related memes. Winners will get a total of 600 Rainbow Six credits. And once again, I have to say huge shout out for Ubisoft for partnership, for providing help and support, especially in the South Asia region. Your support means a lot to us. And of course, huge shout out for Fragnation, who's been helping quite a lot, coming in from their end too. But all in all, I have to say, the first day itself, Jack, it has gone really well. We did see one of the teams. Hopefully, we'll be able to see the same thing happening on the second matchup as well. Second match, which would be the second semifinals, it will be a best of three, which will happen in tomorrow itself. Same time, just like Jack said, the winner of that said semifinals matchup will head in towards the grand finals, in which the grand final itself is a best of five. So, making sure that you have all the information regarding to it, we'll be able to know a lot more that's coming in stores for the side of Team Fragnation. And of course, if you are interested in watching out other games as well, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to our YouTube channel Fragnation to get to know a lot of future updates on Siege and also other games that's currently present from our end.
Yeah, no, there's going to be a lot. That is for sure. Make sure to keep an eye out for future stuff, folks, as things will develop over the course of the next few months, hopefully over the course of the year. And it is, once again, something to look forward to. And here we go. This is the full match summary, I do believe, between both maps. Yes, it is. And boy, howdy, 24 to its Rux. That is quite the performance in this matchup here. Very, very well done for the side of, that player. 19 to Expansion Tetra as well. However, well, unfortunately, it wasn't quite to be. Ion's having a relatively quiet game, apparently. Same with Ninja Freak. So, well, it is what it is. Beat as well, going 8-11, but the rest of the kills are very well distributed between the players of course, Team UwU. But yeah, with all that said, folks, it is a great game that we did get to see. So, Baba, once again, I'm going to throw you under the bus. Any closing thoughts before we, finish off for the night?
Well, usually I would end things off on a thought for the day, but yeah, usually I since ran most of the words. I'll just go with a simple sentence: believe in yourself, no matter if you feel like you failed a lot of things. Failure is the next step to success. And with that, folks, we'll be taking our leave for today. Hope you guys enjoyed it. This will be me, Baba Gusta, alongside with my partner Blackjack, and we will see you in the next stream. Until then, good night.